Hi, Shelley.
Good morning.
Hi.
I have a question, if I might.
Yes.
How long has Keller Williams been using the command platform?
I think it's been around 2 years.
Oh.
Yeah, but I had to log in early and I'm still just downloading some things. So I need to,
Mhm.
I'm gonna take off my video for a second and work on that.
You do
And then
that.
and then I'll be back on time.
No worries.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Shelley.
Good morning.
Ooh, of course, my audio stopped working.
Brooke, I could hear you. The
Good
person
morning.
who just logged in as KW New England, are you Darren?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
I'm Heidi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Hey, Brooke, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How you feeling?
Better, much better.
Good.
Darren, in case we have a tech glitch along the way, since I'm your assistant instructor, should I write down your phone number, you think?
Actually, I'm just changing my name on the box to that too. I usually put it in the chat.
Okay.
People who come in late, so
I
yeah,
will change that too.
I think it'd be good. That way, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to us. So Heidi, at the beginning, I'll just hand everything over to you and I'll just follow your lead so you can do the whole thing if you'd like. How about that? Sound good?
How about I was the assistant instructor? So I'm going to follow your lead.
It's fine. No worries. No worries. I'd say we just,
I did teach this once. Yet as the assistant, I'm looking forward to, sometimes it's nice to just look at somebody else's teaching style.
sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think diversity is great, and just being able to sit in on other people's ways of teaching and seeing how they operate.
Exactly.
I think it's fantastic. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
feel
when
free to,
it's like when you go to Bold and you're a Bold captain and
Yeah.
you've had the experience of being a Bold captain a few times, and it's nice not to absorb somebody else's leadership style and learn from that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Captains, bold instructors, and all that. I mean, everybody gives you a different way of seeing it, so it's
Mhm.
fantastic. It's good. Yeah, jump in whenever you feel like you need to. I'd rather make it more conversational, so just interrupt, jump in, get me to stop talking whenever you want to. It's not a big deal.
Absolutely.
How's everybody else doing this morning? Good. Thumbs up. All right, good. Everybody have their coffee?
Not quite enough.
Okay. Well, thanks. You might want to get some more because I'm guaranteed to put you to sleep. So let's get that out in the open in the beginning, okay? All right. So what are some ahas that people are getting from Ignite? What's one thing, since this is the last session in Spark, what's one of the takeaways or the ahas that people have had here?
I got one
Okay, sure.
that this can be more of a scientific process than organic. Like there's numbers to this.
Mhm.
Like what was it? 12 connections usually equals 3 leads, and one lead, and then every 3 leads equals 2 contracts or something like that. There's a lot of numbers that I've seen get thrown around that kind of help me out.
Yeah, 3 words, right? Know your numbers.
Yeah.
And have some kind of tracking system so that you can analyze those numbers.
That's why
Also,
command
the
is so
support.
useful.
Yeah, the support team that's available to helping us along if we hit any roadblocks or stumble along the way. It's tremendous.
Yeah, it's one thing that we don't lack at Keller Williams is the amount of resources and support. So absolutely. Plenty of that to go around. What else? Anybody have anything else they want to share? Anything they learned? I mean, anything like that?
Yeah, if I may. Hi, Darren. How you doing this morning? How you doing, everybody?
Hey,
Listen,
Andy.
hey, Darren. I've contacted an agent for, to schedule the open house this Sunday, and he responded the next day with some kind of weird, response like, "We are all set, thank you." Something. I mean, I'm not sure if he understood correctly that I want to just stay there, just listen, just observe, just learn. I think he thought that I was, hoping to host that thing. So I'm gonna send you that link after the meeting, so
Okay.
if you find a minute to see that, okay? That was kind of
absolutely.
close. That was in Farmington, which is close to me. Every other thing, for this weekend is like Tolland, very, very far away. So I was hoping for the other one, $300,000, house. That's kind of middle range. So I wanted that one. Somehow he
Yeah,
didn't.
it's probably miscommunication on that, but we'll chat about that. Yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. No problem. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have an aha.
All right. Go
Uh,
ahead.
I was reading a book this morning and the word resilience popped out in the book. And I realized that in this business, that resilience is a quality that we don't have to portray to our customers or clients, but for ourselves to know that it's not always easy, but to just stick with it and just keep learning. And the resilience actually becomes like your backbone or your armor or your support system internally.
That's great. That's good. Yeah, resilience is key in this. So that's great. No, thank you for sharing. That's really good. We'll talk a little bit about that as well today. What else? What else would everybody like to share? Something you learned, something you like, anything like that. What's going to help you in your business at this point? So I told everybody to grab the caffeine. You need to be awake. Here we go. Here we go.
I'll share another.
Okay, perfect.
I learned as a new agent, and I have not forgotten this, that your assets can come in many different forms. One asset for me is my smile, and I can bring it with me everywhere I go, and people connect with it. And I didn't have to earn an education to get my smile or do anything fancy. But so me, myself, I'm an asset.
That's excellent. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a gift that they can bring to this, and you find out what yours is and maximize that as much as possible. So that's good.
After attending Ignite, learning more about command and how to do the designs, in session 8, they taught us. So I got the confidence, and with the help of my market center and our lender there, planning to host a first-time home buyer seminar.
Excellent. That's great. Congratulations. That's good. That's good. It's not that difficult, right?
No, meeting they said it'll be at a restaurant we can do once we get it all. It's just in the initial beginning, but we're working on it.
That's great. That's good. We actually had somebody in our office who did one a couple nights ago, and we have another one scheduled for next week. It's amazing how easy that is to put together. You just leverage out, the people that come into it and using designs in command. That's tremendous value in using that as well. So that's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Keep us posted. So let us know how it goes. Let us know how many people show up and what sort of feedback you get too.
Okay. Can I have your email? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Heidi, are you ready to get started then?
Mhm.
All right, excellent. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Heidi Nottenson. I am out of Greater Portland, Maine, and I keep looking up because I've got you up here on my bigger screen. So sorry about that. I've been an agent for 11 years, and I started off solo, and then after maybe a year, I went onto a team to be a buyer agent and realized that I learned a lot but was kind of stuck in a role. So I decided to become a solo agent again. And I like to take on anything new just to learn and grow. And I'm on the ALC in my market center. So it's fun to be able to help other people.
All right, terrific, great, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Darren. I am the productivity coach here at Keller Williams Legacy Partners down here in Connecticut. I actually have been in the business for about 7 years. I originally was at Century 21, but obviously don't like to say that too much. But previous life, I was actually a stunt double for Betty White. So I've kind of expanded and gone in a different direction at this point. And if you're wondering, yes, this is my real hair. So get that out of the way in the beginning. So anyway, one of the key things about being a good real estate agent is listening. So if you got that, I applaud you. If not, need more caffeine at this point. So good. All right. Heidi, do you want me to do the slides at this point, or do you want to do them?
Yeah, you can just take it away. And if there's anything that I'd like to add, I'll chime in.
All right, perfect. So let me share my screen here. All right. So I did actually put in my contact information under my name there. That's my phone number. So if anybody has any questions or any follow-up after this, feel free to reach out, call me, text me, anything like that. If you're looking for my email address, I'll be happy to send that to you as well too. I know Heidi put her information in there. I'm sure she's willing to chat with anybody who needs help as well too. So don't hesitate to reach out, and also don't hesitate to interrupt this as well too. Really want to make this more of a dialogue than a monologue. So if you have questions, or if there's something that you want to add or anything you want us to expand upon, just jump right in and just cut us right off, because we could probably go on forever on a lot of these slides and everything in here too. So one of the things too is that I typically enjoy that uncomfortable silence. So if I ask a question, I could let it sit there for a while. So really encourage participation, just jumping in. I have no problem with that uncomfortable silence, which you'll see. So feel free to just jump right in whenever you can. All right. So today we are going to be talking about a day in the life of a real estate agent. All right. So a lot of people really enjoy this class because obviously it sums up taking everything you learned through the first 8 modules, putting it together into one basically schedule of what should I be doing with my career? Okay. What should I be doing in real estate? What is it that's most important? So can anybody start throwing out some of the things that we think are important, some of the activities that we would be doing as a real estate agent? What have you learned up to this point?
Reaching out to your contacts.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a secret agent.
That's a great one too. Don't be a secret agent. Absolutely.
Put a lot of your energy into building your contacts, getting more of them.
Getting as much information from them as possible, right?
Yeah. Lead generation is key to the foundation of your business.
Yeah, one of the things that you're going to learn is that lead generation is pretty much the answer or the solution to everything. All right. If you're not making enough money, lead generate. Okay. If you're not busy enough, lead generate. If you've got 1 or 2 problem clients, lead generate. Get some ones that are actually going to bring you business, right? So lead generation is critical. It's core in everything. Now, we all know that there are things that don't apply in the day in life of real estate, right? Like Netflix, binging on shows there, right? Or just, taking long naps or things like that. You got to remember that we are all the CEOs of our own corporation, right? We are all independent contractors. We wear so many hats in this business that we're pretty much cover everything from beginning to end. It's just like any entrepreneur that's starting off with their business. You're doing the marketing role, you're doing the finance role, you're doing the CEO role, you're doing everything under the sun, okay? And you've got to take that seriously. You've got to put as much work into it as you would if you were starting a business from scratch. The great thing about this, though, is that the models and the systems and the format has already been put in place. Okay, it's very easy for us to follow what's been laid out in the path before us. If you look at any of the successful agents that are out there, they all pretty much follow the same format in getting up their business up to where they are. And when they grow it enough, then they can start leveraging and basically passing along some of those responsibilities and delegating that to other people. But in the meantime, okay, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on our part, but the great thing is it's already been set there for us. We've got all the systems and processes in place. We don't need to get cute. We just follow the plan, follow the format, and everything will work from there. So these are the things that successful agents do every single day. Now there's two parts to it, right? Number one, there's growing your business. And then number two, there's running your business. And there's a lot of different things that are on here, okay? Anybody want to highlight something in this list, either on growing or running your business, that they've already started to incorporate?
Previewing real estate, attending open houses,
Okay. Excellent. That's good.
and preparing a buyer listing. My MC's at the center, he's taught, and it'll be helpful when we lead generate and we get the first.
Yep, that's perfect. That's great. That's excellent. That's excellent. Very good. Those are things, there's so much that's on here. There's enough for us to do to keep us busy on a regular basis. So Heidi, from your perspective, what are some of the things that you do, or what are the most important things that you focus on?
And somebody in the chat also had said set goals. I think for me, it would be really working on the database, but not just working on it like behind the scenes, but as I'm working on it and I see holes in the database, that gives me opportunity to contact those people so I can have conversations to make that database more well-rounded for that contact.
Perfect. Yeah, database, that's the key word right there. Okay, that is the key word. I can't tell you how many agents that I've talked to that have tried to expand their business by basically putting their database on hold or not even going there and going out and trying to talk to new people. You're pretty much doubling your efforts at that point because people don't know you. You got to build that rapport. And generally what happens is agents will come back around to the fact that their database is what's giving them their business. Okay, the database is most important. That's why we start off with that. All right, database is key. They already know you. They already love you. People are only going to do business with people they know and they trust. Why make it difficult?
And you could think of your database, you could think of your database as a data bank.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
The database is what's going to give you the money, but it's not just that it's passive, it's communicating with it. It gives you the money.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's a big focus, especially when you're starting off. Just focus on everybody that you know and don't filter out people and say like, well, not this person, but this one, everybody. Just try everybody. All right. You'd be surprised. Absolutely. All right. So here's a bit of an agenda of what we're going to be covering. Obviously, we're going to be talking about those two lists right there, growing your business and running your business. Okay. We're going to talk about setting weekly and daily objectives. We're going to be talking about, what should I be doing? What are my goals? What are the activities to get me there? How do I set up my schedule for this? All right. And we're going to go into creating accountability. How do we go about doing that? All right. We'll do a little bit of recap, get some ahas from that. Okay. We'll talk about what we should be doing and what we've been doing as part of the Ignite program. And one thing that I want to incorporate today too is at the end, we'll talk about script practicing. All right. What I'd like to do is have people throw out scenarios or difficulties that you've run into in talking to people and having conversation. And let's go through and let's script practice and let's role play that. And I'll actually help you out with going through some of those scenarios, and maybe that'll give you some more incentive to reach out and start talking to people. All right. We'll also be taking breaks too. I like to take a couple of breaks. So we'll take one at the top of each hour. So one at 9 o'clock and one at 10 o'clock. So just for preparation purposes as well. Okay.
And if you don't currently have a script partner, feel free to put into the chat that you're looking for one, and someone else on this group here, maybe we connect with that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Script partners are excellent. Okay. I've had script partners in Canada, Pennsylvania. I had one in Czechoslovakia, as a matter of fact. And I got to tell you that having different perspectives and talking to different people and getting that, a different way of handling a script and the objections, it's fantastic. It's really good. It's a great way to learn. So, all right. So let's take a look at this quote here. People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future, okay? What is this telling us? What does this mean?
Well, someone's had to come up with a repetitive process that makes it a habit. So you're not really thinking about it, it just happens.
Okay, all right. So with
Old
that,
law, what you put in, you get out. So what you focus on expands.
mhm, absolutely, absolutely. So what's the difference between a habit and a routine?
Which you do without thinking. It's a part of you. Routine
Okay.
is like you make a to-do list.
Okay.
And you
What
could be
else?
in the habit of following your to-do list.
True.
This also says they decide their habits. So it's not just that they've noticed that something is a habit, but they choose what it is that they want to become their habit to work on.
Right. And I'm going to break with a little bit of KW tradition here. I'd like to say that, basically over the course of 66 days, if you do something consistently for those 66 days, it becomes a habit. I like to say that if you do it for 2 days in a row or 2 times in a row, it becomes a habit, right? So habit is something that you purposely do, something that you know is going to pay off with results at the end, all right? And if you take a look at, basically your results, okay, the habits are directly tied to your results. So whatever habits you put in place are going to give you the results that you want. So we need to be purposeful in what we're going to be doing and the habits we're going to be putting in place. If something becomes routine, it may not be important. It may not be something that involves something that's going to make us money. We want to put the habits in place that are going to make us money, that are purposeful, and that are going to help us to get to where we want to go. All right. And this is what we're going to be focusing on today. What are those habits? What are those things that we're going to be putting in place that are going to help us to build our business and build it the right way? All right. So let's take a look at typical calendar for an agent right here. Now, one of the first things that we do in my coaching program is we set a time blocking schedule. And the second thing we do is we actually set our goals, the two things that tie into what we talk about here. All right. I would suggest that everybody right now, if you haven't done it already this weekend, come up with what your schedule is going to be. All right. Just as if you were in a 40-hour job, all right, where the routines, the schedules, habits, all that stuff is laid out for you. This is your job. This is your career. If you're full-time, you're part-time, what's your schedule going to be like for your real estate business? All right. This is your business. Okay. So that should be your schedule. Now we're going to talk about some of the essential activities that should be in there, but I want everybody to come up with something that is going to work for them. And only you can decide what that's going to be. And that schedule is going to be something that's going to allow you to basically zero in and focus on your business, right? There's no multitasking, right? You're not doing one thing and real estate at the same time. It's either one or the other. And this is what we're going to be talking about. So what sort of activities do you see on here that are part of this agent's calendar? What are the things that are essential there?
No, I noticed that they spend the majority of their morning lead generation,
Absolutely.
follow-up. That's a decent chunk of time to focus in on that. I think that's necessary.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That is key right there. So that's a good one. What else?
Well, in the afternoon, it looks like they're out and about growing the business activities.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I think lunch is important too.
Yeah,
All right.
I was going to say that they show priority of themselves too. Some recovery time, some family time, the motivational building time. Outside of the business, they are rejuvenating themselves, which is really important.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Right. Now
Start
listen.
morning with script practice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Starting with script practice. I think that's excellent. That's a great one right there. Absolutely.
Connie, myself, and Christina, we are doing it every morning.
That's it. That's a great way to start it. So typically my day starts at 4:30. I'm up at 4:30. I go to gym, get some stuff ready, get some things going, and then get right into my workday. All right. But that works for me. That doesn't work for everybody else. And one of the things that we do in our office is we actually have script practice as the very first thing, 8:15 every morning. We get some veteran folks to come in, script practice. What that does is that gets the kind of the juices flowing, gets the mindset into, okay, I'm going to be going out, I'm going to be talking to people. All right. Then our morning is spent with lead generation or meetings, things like that. And the fact that I brought up lunch and making sure that that's on it, you got to schedule those times. As somebody said, there's times for you to refresh, to get, basically reinvigorated, to take a break, decompress, whatever you want to call it. Okay. But having those things scheduled in there means that they're going to happen. And this is going to take a little while for you to put a schedule together that works for you. And it's going to change, right? I talk to people who put schedules together and they have kids. One schedule is for when the kids are in school. One is for when it's in the summer or the winter vacation, things like that. All right. You might have to modify it a few times. You might have to go through. It's probably going to be very fluid. But you've got to come up with something that basically lays out what your day is. All right. And put in what you need to in order to get things done. We're going to be focusing on activities that are going to generate money for us. So if you put something in there and you ask yourself, is this a money generating activity or is this something that's going to help me to grow my business? And it's a no, probably doesn't belong in there. For us, especially in the beginning, it's about doing the deep work versus the shallow work. So what do I mean by that? Okay, the deep work is the stuff that's going to help us to advance our business, help us to advance what we're going to do. And those are purposeful activities. The shallow stuff where we got to say like, well, I have to spend my day counting my paper clips. I want to make sure I have enough paper clips. So when that business comes in, I've got enough paper clips for my business. That's not going to do anything for you, right? That's not purposeful activities that are going to be doing things for you, right? One of the things that I've always carried with me that I heard early on in Keller Williams is that there's 5 essential activities that successful agents do. Okay, we talked about some of them that are on here, but these are things that you should probably incorporate into your schedule in some way, shape, or form. All right, so we'll take all the activities we have, we're going to break them down into 5 essential activities. Number 1, as somebody said, is lead generation. Okay, lead generation is essential. There should not be a day that goes by that you don't do some form of lead generation. Now, I know as new agents, we love to go out there. And if we get our first client, we're so fixated and tunnel vision, we're focused on that client, and we carry that client from beginning all the way to the end, and then we're like a typewriter. Now we got to go back to the beginning, and we got to start over. What if as we're working with that client, we're still continuing to lead gen, and we're still continuing to go out and have these real estate conversations, right? And that pipeline that you see in command, right? Under opportunities where you've got the listings, you got the buyers and the rentals. What if you had numbers in every one of those phases and stages, right? Now you didn't have to worry about it. So as you have people flowing through there and you get yourself up to the point where you're getting a closing every week, 2 weeks, month, whatever your goal is, that's like a regular paycheck. Now you're getting into the business of providing yourself with a regular paycheck. Instead of having a closing, then having to go out and get another client, waiting 60 days, and then you got to go back and start over again. Fill that pipeline. Lead generation should be done every single day, because the day that you don't do lead generation is a day that you can mark on your calendar about 45, 60 days out, say no business, no closing, right? Lead gen, you're going to hear that all the time. Lead gen is essential. How many of you right now have had your phone ring how much read it? Like 20 minutes that we've been doing this. How many of you had your phone ring right now with business that's come in without you having to do anything? Anybody have that? All right. So if nobody knows that you're a real estate specialist, how do you get that word out, right? You got to let people know and have those real estate conversations, right? Okay, first one, lead generation. Second activity, follow-up. If you have not heard the phrase yet, I will tell you that the fortune is in the follow-up, okay? That is an essential phrase right there. You will not get the appointment the first time that you call somebody in that lead generation. The follow-up, however, is going to be where it's going to happen. Because honestly, people have to hear your message 8 to 10 times before it sinks in. So people know you as, let's say maybe a landscaper or an insurance agent or teacher, whatever it is. It's going to take 8 to 10 times to get your message out to say, no, I am a real estate specialist. So the sooner you get that ball rolling, the sooner you follow up with people, okay? That's what's going to happen. We talked about lead generation. There's prospecting and marketing, right? So prospecting is where we go out one-to-one. Marketing is one-to-many. So yeah, if we reach out, we talk to them, have that initial phone call, but then we're doing social media posts, right? We're sending them emails. We get the neighborhood nurtures, things like that. They're starting to see things, whether or not they may be directed at them specifically. They're seeing things from us. So now they're able to get that message. Now they're able to say like, okay, yeah, if I got a real estate problem, this is who I go to, right? So the fortune is in the follow-up. And that's where things are going to happen, right?
I'd like to add something if I may.
Absolutely.
So in the section of the calendar where it's 4:30 to 5:30, review the calendar for tomorrow. If you have follow-up items, it's a great time at the end of the day to make sure that you've allocated some way to do your follow-up system. So if whatever that is, because the follow-up is so key, that's like where the gold is. You as a business owner, that 4:30 to 5:30 time slot is you acting as business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the great thing about
For
that,
me, part of my follow-up system is doing an opportunity task of saying follow up. But another thing that I do for following up just loose ends in general is within my calendar where I have time slots plugged in. I also do one run-on sentence that has no particular time slot of the day. So if I just know that, oh, I have something to do or somebody that I have to call, it'll just be their name or some info, comma, all the other things that are in a run-on sentence. And so I don't have to take time to really switch gears to start going down that rabbit hole, because I know that later it's now, I've just sort of parked that idea in that run-on sentence on my calendar. That's my system, which has become a habit for me.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, and see, that works for Heidi. And a lot of you may take that idea and put it in place because it's a really good idea. But for some of you, you may come up with your own way of doing that too, as well. But setting yourself up for the next day makes it so much easier. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it that night. Okay. You come in the next morning, you're already fresh. Everything's laid out for you. All right. Perfect. So the third thing is appointments. Go on appointments. Every time that we lead in, every time we follow up, our ultimate goal is to get an appointment. Okay. So go on appointments. It's one thing to develop the knowledge by just taking classes and, absorbing this and understanding it. But that knowledge is going to give you the confidence. When you go out and actually take the action and you get the experience, that's what's going to help you to become a more well-rounded agent. Okay. That's what's going to help you to really understand the business by going out and talking to people, having those appointments. Going on appointments is a great way to actually really get that experience and get it quickly. Compound that with everything you've learned, the knowledge base that you have there. Right? The fourth thing, negotiate contracts. All right, negotiating contracts. Why is that essential? Why is that one of the key elements here? Well, it keeps us sharp. It understands when we have leverage and when we don't have leverage, right? There's a class actually here in Ignite on negotiations, and I think that's in elementals. I don't know if you've had that already, but negotiating, that's key, right? Take a look at 1230 to 230, run the business activities. What's one of the things on that, right? Negotiating contracts. And when do we negotiate? What are some things that we do when we negotiate?
We open dialogue. It's just helps with like such an important practice in real estate. Just talking to people about a stressful topic like negotiating.
Yeah, if you think about it, first time you meet somebody, you're negotiating, aren't you? You're showing your value proposition. Why should I pick you to help me buy a house, sell a house, find a rental, whatever? That's negotiation. How about putting an offer in or receiving an offer if you have a listing, or receiving 73 offers if you have a listing nowadays, right? How about inspection? How about appraisal? Right? How about talking to your spouse, figuring out where you want to go to dinner that night after you've had a closing, right? That's negotiation too. So things like that, right? We're negotiating all the time, but that's part of our business. And we have to understand where and how to negotiate. And that comes with experience, right? Now, the fifth thing, practice and role play. Like practice and role play. Now, I know at the end of each of these sessions, when they say, okay, now we're going to script practice, and then we're going to go out and we're going to call our database. All right, about 75% of the people, typically, that's my cue to jump off, not be a part of this, okay? However, and I did that too, okay? Back when I was at Century 21, he handed me scripts and do this. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna do this. I don't want to sound like Tommy Telemarketer. I really do not want anything to do with this. That's great until you understand that the first time you call it for sale by owner and you get your head handed to you, okay, that maybe there's something to this, all right? When you're talking to people that you're working with, whether it be a buyer, whether it be a seller, you're going on a listing appointment, you're calling expireds, you're just sitting there at a family get together and you're talking to your cousin who says, hey, how's the real estate market? Things like that, all right? The scripts are going to enable you to go in and have these conversations and to control the conversations by asking the right questions and digging deeper into the situation, all right? One of the biggest questions you can ask is like, tell me what's important about that, right? Why is that important to you? All right, things like that. You learn from practicing scripts and from role playing. Okay, you think you may have this knowledge in your head that you can just go out there and wing it. And that's the point where you get shot down and you end up being like every other agent out there who's not with Keller Williams, who just tries to call an expired saying, hey, give me your listing. And then the person hangs up on them. And they go to the next one and say the same thing and they wonder why they can't get business, right? Practicing and role playing every single day is key. We're going to show you some examples of agents and their schedules out there and what's entailed that, but you should incorporate that every single day, whether it's the beginning of the day, the end of the day. This is what's going to keep you sharp. And this is what's going to basically allow you to have these conversations, right? The person who asks the questions controls the conversation. If you're the one that's answering the questions, you're playing defense at that point. But you ask the right questions, you get people to talk, you do better. So sorry, Heidi, go ahead.
It's okay. Have compassion on yourself if you're not doing this well. It takes a lot of practice and I would say, if I could offer some words of wisdom, feel gratitude that you're potentially failing forward. Like without the practice and stumbling, I still stumble. Sometimes I just get in my head or my mouth is just not moving right. And so sometimes I don't end up doing something right, yet I know that I'm learning from every experience. I didn't get a buyer agreement signed a couple of days ago. I knew that there was somebody else being interviewed. And so she called me and said, I decided to go with somebody else. And I contacted her anyways. And I said, great. I like to learn from every situation. Is there something I could have done differently so I can learn for the next time? And then I choose that I'm feeling gratitude so that I know that I'm learning and failing forward. So have compassion on yourself.
Definitely. And think about this, just like everything else, the first time that you do something is always the most difficult, but every time afterwards, it's going to get easier and easier. So get that first one out of the way. The first appointment, the first, script practice, first role play, get all that stuff out of the way first, and then it'll get easier. Now, even if you go to an open house, right, learn scripts on how to have conversations with folks there. And the first time is going to be, I don't know, may not even know what questions to ask. Just start doing it. Once you take the actions, you're going to start seeing the benefits from that. So absolutely. To Heidi's point, still learning today. Nobody is ever in a position where they're absolutely perfect. Right? There's still conversations you have you get tripped up on. Hell, I still remember the first time I called it for sale by owner. It was a little old lady, and granted, and she basically handed me my head. I'll never forget that. All right. But I got through that, took a deep breath. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to study these scripts a little bit more. Right. And then, next call wasn't as bad. The next call wasn't as bad on that. And at one point, I reached back out to her because I wanted to have that conversation again and say, like, hey, let me redo this here. But she didn't answer. So anyway. All right. So let's go over 5 activities that are essential. Okay. Number 1, lead gen. Number 2 is follow-up. Okay. Number 3 is going on appointments. Number 4, negotiations. And number 5 is script practice and role play. Okay. Now on here, you're going to see that there are other items that we had under that run the business activity list where they said marketing, seller listings, showing buyer houses, okay, transaction management, vendor management, setting goals, all these other things. Okay. Those are things that are essential. They are important, okay? But those will come in time. You're going to find the pockets of where to put those into your schedule, okay? The other items, the 5 items, are going to be the ones that are really going to help you to hone your skills and help you to grow your business. The other things, that's going to be support activities that you can find time for throughout the day or whenever you have your schedule that'll enable you to work on those things, all right? Now, everything you do, we talked about before, make sure you're focusing on money-making activities, right? Because there's a difference in your schedule between being busy and being productive. There are agents that I talk to that get up and running and they've got, 15 different clients that they're working with. And they're like, oh my God, I am just so busy right now. Okay. I'm like, well, what are you doing to grow your business at this point? What activities are you doing to help continue to grow that so that, yes, you've got, 20 transactions this year and next year you want 40. What are you doing? It's like, I don't know. I'm just keeping my head above water at this point. Do you have a schedule, time blocking schedule? Well, no, that's out the window. Okay. Start with that, right? What can you leverage? Do you have anything that you can leverage up? Why are you putting a contract together? If you've already done it, 37 times, why do you need to keep doing that, right? Give that to somebody else, focus on growing your business, right? So look at the difference between being busy and being productive. Does that make sense? All right, what questions do we have at this point? We actually phrase it a different way. What are you hearing right now?
Well, I'm hearing that it's a lot of work and you got to put a lot of effort into the build, and doing that effectively by the time blocking is not something I have done, and it's something I'm kind of excited about, and like writing it down and not getting, because I can get pulled in so many different directions. It's so easy. Just sort of, I'm also good at when I do have organization of like really checking off the block. So I dig that. Yeah, it's given me some motivation, and I like the idea of the organization of it.
Good. Yep. Good. Thanks, Annie. Yeah, absolutely. Anita, how about you?
I was thinking, is there a script for open house to practice? The scripts we have doesn't cover that.
Okay. Yeah, they won't be actually in the Sparks and Elementals, but a couple things that I would say is that if you have a productivity coach in your office, they would have a library of resources. And there is a Keller Williams like script book that's several hundred pages, and there are open house scripts that are in there. So if you have a productivity coach, say check with them. If not, give me a call or send me a text, and I'd be happy to send that over to you. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shelley, how about you?
Yeah, actually, thank you. I just wanted to comment that this is the end of my second week with Ignite. I was fortunate enough to land in the first session, and I am a new agent. I know you're not supposed to say that after a week, but I am. I'm finding, and I'm an early bird myself, 4 to 5 a.m. I get a tremendous amount done in the first 2 hours of my day. I'm just finding, like, for example, right now, this is really important to me to finish all of these sessions as much as I can. One, I have to cut short next week for orientation, but Massachusetts Association of Realtors, for example, I get a text this morning to attend a 9:30 Zoom, which obviously isn't going to happen. I found out yesterday that my ethics training for the NAR is 2.5 hours, which I didn't know. And if I took every training that's currently available, which I would like to access each and every one, I'm not sleeping for 6 months. I'm not doing anything. You can't lead generate when you're doing these things. So I'm finding I'm not finding it overwhelming, because I am very good at allotting my time. This is my priority right now. The other trainings will have to wait. I really would like to see more flexibility with that.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. What we need to do too is we need to basically, again, prioritize, right? If we're a new agent, okay, yes, we do have those other requirements, and they are requirements, ethics training, things like that. We've got to do that. All right. But the other thing is too, is that what else do we have going on right now? Chances are we really don't have much else going on. And if we're going to prioritize, for us, it's about getting appointments ultimately, right? If we need to get appointments, then that's what we're going to be focused on. We can't really focus on negotiating contracts unless, hey, if we have a class or a broker has a class on that, fine, absolutely. And we record these, so in the event that obviously you can't watch them live, you got them later on in the day, all right? But let's look at it this way. If we got the ethics training in the morning, and that's when we do our lead gen, okay. The afternoon where we had time set aside for doing maybe some admin stuff or something like that, we can replace that with our lead gen time. All right, we've got to come into our schedule and we got to say, right now, what are the most important things for me and prioritizing? This is where it becomes challenging. This is the juggling, okay? If you think that, you know, maybe putting the office chair together that you're going to have for your desk is something you want to do in the morning, that's great. Just make sure in the afternoon you put in your lead gen time, right? We replace it with the other one. But it does become a bit of a juggling act. In the beginning, it feels like you're overwhelmed, right? Like to say you're drinking from a fire hose. How many people feel like they're drinking from a fire hose right now, right? Yeah, everything, absolutely, all right? I know everybody should be raising their hand right now. That's why I raised 2 of them. But in this instance, what we're doing is we're going to break it down and give you the essential things that you need to focus on so you can start those building blocks, all right? You don't want to be like me where you just got handed some scripts, you know, first day and said, okay, figure it out. Right? That doesn't happen. We don't want that. What we want you to do is say, like, yes, you've got this volume of activity and things you should be doing. Let's break it down, and this is what you do now. Okay, that's done. Now we do this. Now we do this. You're going to find very quickly that after a short period of time, you're going to be like, I got this. I got this. Right? How many of you were able to ride a bike without training wheels right off the bat? Especially when you're like 3, 4, 5 years old. Okay, well, Shelly, you're an exception here. Please put your hand down. You're making me look bad. All right, most people, okay, you got to have somebody running alongside you, right? Other than Shelly. Shelly's the exception here, right? So you got, you know, you don't just start off with that. Okay, how about this? You know, when you were a young child and you were crawling, did you just get up and walk? Shelly, please don't put your hand up, please. Okay, all right. So no, we actually had to kind of get up and then fall and get up and fall and get up and fall. But hopefully none of you are still crawling. Most of you still walk because you kept at it, right? It's the same thing with this. You know, if this is maybe a second career for you, third career, okay? In every job that you went to, you don't just walk in and be like, I know this. Don't worry about it. You know, give me the scalpel. I'm going to operate. No problem. No practice, whatever. No, it's not the case. Same thing with this. You've got to learn as you go along and you pick this up quickly. You're being immersed in everything. So you'll get this. Don't worry about it. It's just prioritizing at that point what's important. And for us, that's why we lead generate and follow up, because we need appointments. If we don't have appointments, we don't have any closings. We don't have anything after that. So for us right now, it's about getting appointments. And that's why we reach out to our database. These people want to help us. You know, if they don't want to help you, they shouldn't be in the database. Let's put it that way, right? Does that help? Good. All right. All right. So now let's get on to setting our weekly and daily objectives. Heidi, do you want to add something to that at all? Anything that I missed?
Yes, I actually want to just add that you already have certain skills and that you already are good with, that you're good at, that come with you to this initial job. Like before, I said a smile is an asset, or my smile is my asset. You have wisdom from other types of work that you did, or the way you interacted with people potentially in the past, or maybe you were particularly organized in a past job that you had. So not everything is starting from scratch. So I just want to say all that as encouragement that, I mean, this is still a journey and there's always going to be something new to learn and add on or change, modify in some way. Yet you're going to also get better at things that are inherently that you're already good at. This, you know, the skill sets that you have, your personality, let's just say. So you know, I just want to encourage you not to be overwhelmed, and then just also know that everything you learn, just somehow you're going to learn every day in this business. So nothing seems to fall out of that bucket of knowledge, but every day you have opportunity to add new skills, new ways into the bucket of knowledge. And so again, like showing gratitude to yourself, I think is helpful along the way, because I think your emotional state kind of matters in this business too.
Absolutely. That's a good point there. The emotional state really matters, you know? Take your skills and maximize them. Don't focus on improving your weaknesses. Take your skills and maximize them. Everybody's got a gift. Everybody's got something that they're good at in this business. All right. Find yours and just maximize the hell out of it. All right.
Thank you for
so-
saying it that way. I liked that. That was like an aha to me. Just take your skills and maximize them. I like that. Thank you, Darren.
Well, hey, we're all learning here, right? Absolutely. All right. So how many of you have actually filled out a 411? Or I think this is part of the homework. It's in your book here on page 3. How many of you have actually filled out the 411? No? Nobody? Does anybody know what a 411 is? Everybody know? If you don't know, just come off mute and let me know. We can review it quickly if we need to. And don't be afraid.
I'd like a refresher.
All right, perfect. Excellent. Okay. So the 411 is essentially, this is our action list for getting to where we want to be. All right. The 411 is actually in reverse. All right. You really should be listed as the 114 if you think about it. But what we do is when we go into command and we set our goals, we come up with our annual goal. And granted, this is our production goal, our financial goal. All right. Combination of the two. What is it? What is that we want to make in terms of money, and how does that equate into the number of appointments and closings and things that we need to have? So when we go into command, we go into our goal setting, we set our annual goal. So we got this big goal, and it's going to tell us that we need to go on 7,382 appointments and all this other stuff, and the numbers are just overwhelming, okay? But that's what it is. That's for an entire 12-month period, right? What we do is we take that annual goal and we break it into a monthly goal. Okay, so we've got our one annual goal. Now we break it into our one monthly goal, and we do this every single month. So we just basically take that number divided by 12, essentially. Say, okay, so now, I don't have this annual goal. Now I've got this monthly goal. This is how much I need to make this month, and these are the number of appointments I need to go on, the number of closings I need, so on and so forth. We take that monthly goal, we divide it by 4. Why do we divide it by 4? Anybody want to take a guess?
Four weeks in a month.
Right, exactly, 4 weeks in a month. So now we say, okay, this week, if I want to make this on an annual basis and this on a monthly basis, this is what I need to do this week. So I take that number, monthly number, divided by 4. Okay, now it's great. We got our production numbers, we've got our financial numbers. All right, but what are the activities that are going to get us there? Okay, I still don't know if anybody's had their phone ring yet about an appointment that just kind of randomly just happened out of nowhere. So because of that, we need to now take action. All right, and that's one thing that I will say in all of this. Okay, the secret to success in this business is consistent action. Consistent action every single day. If you're doing something, anything, doesn't matter what it is, you're taking action, you're going to see success quicker than anybody else. Doesn't matter what it
Don't wait to get it pretty first before you take action.
You got it.
Be comfortable with the messy.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So when you go into command is going to give you your annual goal. It's going to give you your monthly goal, the financial goal, the production goal. We need to come up with our weekly goal. Here's the thing. The beginning of every month, we should be filling this out, and we only go 1 week at a time. Why do we only go 1 week at a time? Well, let's say that we're in the beginning of November. We've got week 1, okay? I know what my monthly goal is. I know what my week 1 goals are. These are the 3 to 4 actions I am going to take to do that. I'm going to call my database or text my database or whatever it is that I do to my database, right? I'm going to attend 2 open houses. I'm going to put out 5 social media posts. And oh, by the way, I'm going to go to my kids' PTA meeting and hand out my business cards or share the client app, whatever it is. End of week 1, and that Sunday, I look back and I say, okay, did I do what I said I was going to do? Okay, I needed 1 appointment this week. I did maybe 2 of the 4 activities. I didn't do all of them because, again, I'm watching Squid Games or whatever that is on Netflix. And I got a little distracted. So what, Okay, so now week 2 comes. I'm behind already by 1 appointment. I didn't get that appointment. So now in week 2, I need to get 2 appointments. I'm looking at my week coming up. I need to catch up from week before. So now I got to take a look at my activities. Was that enough? Okay. Either it's the activity or the skill set. Either I'm not doing enough of the activity or I don't have the skill set. So the open houses, maybe I didn't have, I went to 2 open houses and I didn't get any, conversations going with anybody. Let me go and learn these scripts over the week. I'm going to set up 2 more open houses and now I'm going to be ready to have these conversations, right? But each week we review what we did the week before, we set up our following week. And if we're on track, let's say I did get the appointment, that's great. I'm going to continue with those 3 to 4 activities that I had up there, right? It got me the appointment, I'm going to keep doing it. And over time, we're going to start to see like, okay, these are my specialties. These are the activities that help me to grow my business and do my things. But we take it week to week. We don't fill out all 4 weeks and say, okay, I got it, I'm done, and never look at this again until December rolls around. We look at this at each week. Okay.
So this isn't your to-do list. This is your must-do list to reach your goals.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point. All right. And if you're not sure what to do, just do something. Just do something. Okay. It's your must do. So you must do something. Do what others won't. There's a lot of other agents out there that are, for lack of a better term, terrible because they don't know what to do and they don't do anything. And when something happens to them, they don't know how to handle it. Right. You have a solid base. You have a solid foundation. You have things that are here to help you. Okay. So go out there and do what other agents won't do or scared to do because they don't have the knowledge for it. Right.
Let me give you an example that's fun.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So when I was a new agent, and it was time for me to say, okay, get out of the classroom and just start taking action. It was raining out and I started door knocking in a neighborhood. And one person said to me, oh, you can't door knock in this neighborhood. You can't be in this neighborhood. There's already an agent that lives in a neighborhood. So that was kind of like, got me a little down. And then another neighbor said, what are you, crazy? You're knocking on doors in the rain? And then she was like, oh, wait a second. If you're knocking on doors in the rain, then you're dedicated and I do want to work with you. So just go do it.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. And dig deep. All right, dig deep. We actually have bold going on, regional bold going on. There's a story that they actually had yesterday, a poem, but the gist of the poem was there's a rooster and there's a hen. The rooster is really young, the hen has been around for a while. Okay. Now, hadn't had rain in the area for a while. And the rooster was basically complaining because like, look, when it rained before, all the worms came to the surface and ate fantastic and always had a full belly, but rain hasn't come. I can't find worms anywhere. I'm looking around, I can't find them, right? And the hen, who's been around for a while, said, you got to work, you got to do stuff, right? I'm sitting here and I'm, happy, full belly and everything like that because I knew to go over to this new area to dig deeper. I found the worms. I have no problem. So while you're out there complaining and not doing anything and not taking action, I did something and I'm perfectly fine right now. So thought it was good story, at least that applies to this as well. Okay. All right. So with the 411, all right. And you all have this in page 3 in your workbook. I would say make a copy of this and start filling this out. Start working on this. We do this as part of our goal setting in the beginning to get agents in the habit of using this as their own guide for what they're going to do. And it may seem old school, but print it out, make 12 copies of it for the upcoming year and start piecing this together. All right. Anita, you have a question?
I wanted to share in one of the Ignite, they told us to do what our goals in life are, then how much cash you needed, and then annually how many houses. They broke it down.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a lot. For me, it was like 135,000, then 18 houses, then they broke it down, but that was very helpful to
That's
see
good.
the actual picture.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can take whatever your number is, your big goal, your big number, and then break it down into an achievable number that you can sit there and say each month or each week, whatever works for you, this is what I need to do. Absolutely. And plus, it can be a little daunting when you sit there and you look at this massive number, whether it's a dollar figure or production number, whatever it is, and you're like, there's no way I can do that. But when you break it down to a weekly number, it's like, hey, you know, that's really not that bad. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Heidi, anything that you want to add to this at all?
If you hadn't mentioned it before, you're only adding 1 week at a time. So you wait till you accomplish 1 week before you fill in the next week.
Definitely. Andy, you got your hand raised? You got a question?
Yes, excuse me. It's about the lead generating. We've heard that we've heard that those words many times, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna hear them all over again and again and again every day. That's one of the most important thing to to do every day. Like not the most important thing to do every day. The lead generating. What is that exactly again that you do that falls into that lead generating bag, like calling people, texting, emailing, meeting people one on one. What else is that good action to call lead generating?
Okay. Yeah, I would say that, with lead generation, there's two things to it. Okay. There's prospecting and there's marketing. Now, prospecting, which, while it doesn't really have a good connotation, that's where we're having one-to-one conversations with everybody. All right. Now, there's 6 ways to actually reach out and communicate with people directly. Obviously, there's calling, there's texting, there's email, there's old school mail, like handwritten notes, okay, like we do at the end of each of these sessions here, right? There is social media, meaning like a Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or something like that. And then lastly is face-to-face. So what we want to do is at least once every few months, we want to actually have one form of communication with everybody in our database that's direct, that's prospecting based, all right? Stay in front of them. And it could be as simple as just basically calling up and saying, hey, just checking in, how are you doing? Doesn't have to be real estate related, but how are you doing? Ask them how work is going. They're going to ask you how work is going, and then you can incorporate it. But if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up, especially if you talk to somebody and maybe their cat just passed away. Probably not the right time to bring up real estate, but at least you're reaching out and you're checking with them and touching base. The other side of it is marketing. Now, marketing is one to many, meaning that we're putting something out and broadcasting it to everybody so that we want people to contact us. And marketing can be, there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to market. But the biggest thing for us right now, social media. Social media. If you go into command under designs, there are hundreds of templates that are out there that give you every single topic where we can put things out there pretty much every single day for an entire month and not even come close to using something a second time. All right. There's so many templates that are out there. Now for us, all right, that is basically, we're coming from contribution in everything we do. We're not asking for things. We're not taking things. We're putting something out there so that people will contact us. Like say, Keller Mortgage, rates are low, little to no closing costs. If you're interested in buying, give me a call, right? Or, hey, if you're curious about selling your home, you're not sure what it's worth, I can help, right? And oh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans who are out there, okay? Stuff like that. We're offering things. Now, not everybody has to take advantage of it. And there are going to be people that are going to scroll through it, may not even see it, all that stuff, but it's out there. And what we're doing is we're reinforcing the fact that we're a real estate specialist. So we like to say that we're prospecting focused and marketing enhanced. The two of them go hand in hand. So that's why we spend time lead generating, where we're actually reaching out to people. And that's where the follow-up comes in. Okay, follow-up is prospecting. We're following up with people. So, hey, I know we talked about 3 months ago. You'd mentioned that you were thinking about doing something in 6 months. Has that changed? What's your real estate future look like? I know we had the conversation, but I'm just looking to refresh on my end. All right. Or, hey, by the way, we've got a new client app, does a lot of really great things. Would you mind testing it out? Let me know what you think. Let me send it to you. Stuff like that. Touching base with them. That's all it is. And then meanwhile, we're sending, like I said, the neighborhood nurtures that are in there, the email newsletters, social media posts. Okay. Maybe we're going and we're sponsoring, our daughter's softball or soccer team, or we are going to a PTA meeting, or what we're doing is we're going out and, we're doing a homebuyer seminar, as we talked about before. We're doing all these things to go out and have real estate conversations with people. And that's the marketing side of it, which you can be as creative as you want.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was very helpful. About the follow-up, I have a short story about the follow-up thing. I bought my first house as a client. Obviously I wasn't in that business then. I bought my first house about 20 years ago, and I had a real estate agent that I work with. I have no idea about this guy. I don't remember his name. I don't remember even the company that he worked for. I don't remember the guy at all, only because he didn't follow up. He didn't do anything for me to remember him for the next deal that he might have, or for the referral. Nothing. He just disappeared.
Mhm.
That's why the follow up is very important to get the referrals from your clients.
Yeah. Nice to see that he made a lasting impression. So that's excellent. That's good.
Yeah.
Very good. Heidi, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so another sort of fun way to get in touch, be in touch with people is to figure out what kinds of activities you like to do. If you like to go to the gym and you like to sing in a chorus, or you like to, I don't know, be in a hiking club, then do those activities, because they're going to make you happy, and you're going to be with like-minded people who you can bond with, and they're more likely to want to work with you, and you'll be able to have natural conversations with them because you'll be there.
That's excellent. That's a great way to do it. Yep. I know Jason Abrams is big on that too. Find something that you like, your hobby, and maximize that as much too. So that's a great point. That's a really good point. Okay. All right, good. All right, so why don't we take a break here, 5-minute break.
One more thing I'd like to add, though.
Sure.
Okay, so whatever you like to do, and it's one of those activities, tag those people in command for that thing. Like I like to dance. I dance around my house. I like to dance. I've been in different dance classes, and anybody that I've met, I have a tag dance. And the point of that is that if there's something, some event or something that dancers might appreciate, well, then I can just pull up all the people that have the dance tag and contact them about that particular thing, because now it's relevant to them and it gives me another reason to get in touch with them. And it just makes it systematic.
Perfect. Yep. Tags are a great way to really hone in on, really customizing the database. Good. Perfect. All right. Good. All right. So let's take a quick 5-minute break. So it's 10:03 now. So we'll come back, reconvene at 10:08 and pick it up from there. Sound good? All right. Cool. Thank you, everybody. How are we doing on time here? Okay, good. 10:08. All right. Everybody good so far? Awesome. Okay. All right. I saw a few thumbs up, so we'll take that. All right. Perfect. All right. So we're talking about the 80-20 principle. All right. Anybody know the 80-20 principle or what it's named after? Anybody want to take a guess on that?
Kind of what your screen shows. You
Okay.
get more results when you focus on 20% of like the most important things.
Right.
first.
Exactly. You call it Pareto's principle. So yeah. So when I talked earlier about being productive versus being busy, okay, if essentially 80% of what we do, okay, is just being busy, okay, we're not going to see anything out of that, all right? But what we need to do is we need to go and we need to identify what is it that's going to help us to advance our business, help us to grow our business. What is the 20%, okay, according to Pareto, that's going to help us to advance what we need to do, all right? It says here that the Vilfredo Pareto, he was an Italian economist, and he said that 20% of our activities yield 80% of our results. Okay, so not everything you do is going to help advance your business or make you productive. And we want to focus on the 20% that's going to help us to get there. And again, like we talked about in the beginning, right now, emphasis on the appointments. That's what's going to help us to advance our business, right? Okay. Now, part of this also comes out, you may also see somebody say, or may hear somebody say, focusing on the big rocks, okay? What are the big rocks? And where that comes from is there was actually a professor who actually stood in front of a room and he said, okay, he had a glass jar, giant glass jar, and he put some big rocks in there. And he asked the class, he says, hey, is this full? And then students were like, yeah. He goes, do you think I can fit anything else in here? He's like, no. Okay, it's okay. Then he took another cup of small rocks. He put it in. The rocks came in. They filled in the space between the big rocks. He asked him again. He said, hey, you think this is full? Everybody's like, yeah, I'd have to say it's pretty full. Like, okay, tell you what. Took a cup of sand, poured it in. Now the sand came in and filled in a lot of the open spaces and crevices. He asked him again, is the jar full? At this point, they're like, yeah, absolutely. Nothing else can be put in there. He grabbed a cup of water, he poured it in, he goes, now it's full. Okay. However, if you take a look at it, what did he start with? He started with the big rocks. The big rocks are the ones that took up most of the space, right? Those are the ones that basically helped to fill the jar initially. And that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on the big rocks. What are the things that we can accomplish, the 20% that we can accomplish that are going to be big enough to help us to get our business going and to help grow and help expand that, right? And that's where the whole busy versus productive comes in, right? Yeah, there are things that we need to do, things that we can do away from it that, time we have time for it, okay, that are going to help support our business. But what's going to actually help us to grow? What are the money-making activities, all right? We want to focus on that 20% so we can get to 80% of the results. And what you're going to find over time too is start applying this to your database. As you start to get busy and as you start to build up your business, take a look at where your business is coming from. This goes back to the story I talked about earlier. Talking to some of these seasoned veteran agents who've been doing this for 7, 10, 12 years, all right? A lot of times when they go back and they do an analysis of where their business comes from, it's their database. Sure, they can go out and they can, talk to, expireds and for sale by owners and do this other stuff. But that's a long-term play right there. In the near term, it's our database. And that's what's going to continuously give you business. You're going to come to the point where you're going to have a database that's going to be 7, 8, 900,000 people. But there's going to be maybe at most 100, probably anywhere from 50 to 60 that are going to be your true fans. Those true fans are the people that are going to give you continuous business, and they're going to be the ones that are going to give you the referrals. You take a look at any of the top agents, how big is their database? It could be maybe 2, 3, 4,000 people, which if you think about it, really not a lot, but there's a core group of folks that are in there, their database, and it could be 20%, could be maybe less than that, right around there, somewhere around there. Those are the ones that yield the biggest business for them. And that's all they focus on. And that gives them continuous business. You may even get to the point, and God forbid, I don't want to say this because I know people may not like this, but you may get to the point we don't have to lead generate anymore. Wouldn't that be exciting, right? But it happens. You get your database to the point where it's yielding the results, 20% is driving your business, and focus on that. Go back and do an analysis every single year if you have to. Find out the source of your business. Where's it coming from? And then maximize that as much as possible, just like your strengths, as we talked about earlier. Heidi, what would you like to add?
Well, what was the thing you said earlier that like toward the beginning of this session about like staying in the busy or staying in the
Productive.
Okay, so staying in the busy of minutia kinds of tasks are the 80%, and staying busy on the right tasks is the 20%. You can also think about this principle. It applies to everything in nature too, but let's just say even like 20% of the defects in a car might lead to 80% of the car crashes. You know, the principle applies to everything. I also get reminded of it when I start following a shiny object of saying, oh, I want to look at what that other agent is putting on the market. Oh, look at that pretty house. And I'm just like, okay, I want to take my unfair share. So if I spend too much time looking at other people's listings because it's fun or they're pretty, well, then I'm not going to be able to take my unfair share. So I want to be one of the 80% of agents that I mean, part of the 20% of agents that get 80% of the listings.
Absolutely. Perfect. So,
and when you mentioned too that you want to track like where your business is coming from. So when you put a contact in command, it says what that lead source is. It might be a person, which means somebody from your database potentially, or it could be from prospecting or web lead or some other kind of effort, or passive, not really an effort, but so you will be able to naturally get a sense of where the sources are coming from because command will track that for you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Yeah, command basically is all in one. There's so much in there that's going to help you to run your business. Even something as simple as the tags and focusing on that core group. It's going to allow you to do that in no time. That's why setting up in the beginning and going through that and getting an understanding is so essential to having a business that you pretty much know at a moment's notice what your numbers are. Right? So how do we translate this to our 411? How do we take this 80-20 principle and use that in building out our 411?
Break down to smaller tasks like Heidi told per week.
Yeah, we could certainly do that, but what we want to do, at least initially, probably is focus on the big rocks, right? Put the big rocks, the 20% on there. If we're looking to accomplish what we want to, should we be focusing on the 80% or the 20%?
Determine what your 20% efforts are.
Right.
Yeah.
That 20%, those are your big rocks, right? So yeah, absolutely. Every time we fill out our 411, what are our big rocks? What's the 20% that's going to get us there, right? Let's not waste our effort. Let's go in and let's make sure we're focusing on the really purposeful activities, right? So if you look at your 411, you could drop them on there. You can even go to page 4 in your guide here. There's actually a list of big rocks that you can start writing down there. So anybody have any examples? What are some of the big rocks that we can use to make up our 20% that we're going to put on our 411?
It's going to be lead generation.
Sure. Well, let's be more specific. What kind of lead generation?
Open houses.
Okay, open houses, sure.
I've been really focused on my Facebook. So I created my Facebook page and I've been inviting 400 people a day into my Facebook page. I'm putting one little like teaser. First, I introduced myself. Yesterday, I did a why. Today, I did vision. And I'm just sort of, I've announced that I'm a real estate agent and I'm not asking, I'm waiting a little bit. I want to wait till I get all of my people. I've invited everybody and then I'm going to ask them, I'm going to say, I'm building a database and I want to work with you. DM me if you want to be part of my database. So I'm sort of building it methodically
Mhm. Okay.
without getting overwhelmed and, yeah.
So
That's
only 400 a day, Annie. I'm a little disappointed. Only 400 a day. So
I'm doing 400 a day. That's my
Yeah.
goal is to invite 400 a day. Yeah.
Well, I always tell people too, in the beginning, take a look at who you have from your sphere of influence, the people that are in there. All right. And if you can add another 100 or 200 by the end of the month, do that. If you can get it to 1,000 by the end of 12 months, do that. If you can take what you have already and then double it in 12 months, try that. Come up with a strategy that's going to help you to get there. All right. So whatever actions that you take, it could be, like Anita said, I think it was Anita, open houses, right? Or Annie with Facebook, all of that. These are things that you're doing. You're getting the word out there. All right. You're talking to people. All right. And how do we basically encompass that 20%? What are like the big rocks? What are some things? Let's throw out some stuff. Let's get creative. Let's not go with the standard stuff. What are other people doing? What are your big rocks? You got to put them down on paper anyways, right?
Well, I'll also add that I live on a lake and I live on a point, and I have started creating a community, like a neighborhood email. So I made a flyer and I contacted everybody and said I wanted to create a contact list so that we could all interact with one another. So I've been gathering emails and addresses from the people around me. And in that process, I've already heard that one person is thinking about selling their home. So I think that's a big rock. And it's done from a real genuine place. Like I really do want to create that community for my point on the lake and then expand it beyond that.
That's great. That's good. There you go. Community newsletter. Perfect. What else? Anybody doing something or anybody anticipate doing something?
I'm new to the area. I was gonna help out with a trunk or treat here in my town. And I had the candies, gonna decorate the trunk. And then I got an idea from a neighbor whose daughter's also a real estate agent. And she said, I was telling her I wanted to get my name out there. So she told me that her daughter had put some labels or tags on her treats for a trunk or treat before. I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea, because I was already going to do it, do the trunk or treat, have the candy. So I was able to just, kind of put my information on there, like, no tricks, just treats, little label on it, from your new neighbor and KW Realtor Tracy Sorensen, with my phone number on it, and got over 120 pieces of treats out that day. I even had a little kid that said, thanks for your no tricks, just treats thing. So it's a really great way for me, instead of, going door knocking, which I'm not opposed to, or, putting up flyers at homes. It was just one location, something I was already doing or going to. And then, just taking that extra little step to create a little tag to get my name out there in the area. So I thought that was pretty big for me.
That's great. That's terrific. That's good. That's a really good idea. See, you can get as creative as you want. Right now, is that prospecting or is that marketing lead generation?
It's marketing.
Right. Okay. Just make sure everybody understands that. So excellent. What else? What other ways can you get creative?
Next week, I plan on going to my previous employer and just catching up with my old coworkers and letting them know what I'm up to and just seeing some faces I haven't seen in a while. I
That's
left there
great.
on a pretty good note, and they're welcoming me back. So I like those face-to-face interactions a lot more than
Yeah.
on the phone and on Facebook. Not that I'm not doing that, but I like to be a little more personal.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with calls being personable too, text, whatever it is. You've got to find what works for you. Yeah, it's nice to get out of your comfort zone. However, make sure that you're sticking with what you do naturally when it comes to that, because a lot of times too, if, you don't normally call somebody, or maybe you text, or maybe that's a preferred method of communication, you're calling them and it's awkward. Okay, that can work against you, but find out what works for you. All right. I've actually had, agents in my program. One of them was a waitress, and what she did was she put up little information cards, and she basically said, hey, I'm a local real estate specialist. If you want information on the value of your home, let me know. Or if you're looking to buy, contact me. Fill in your name, your information right here. That's how she started her business. Everybody's like, wow, that's great. They see her. She was a regular. Yeah, obviously the regulars would come in. They'd see her all the time. You fill out the cards, you give them back to her, and then boom, all of a sudden things take off. I had somebody else who, his friend of his owned a diner. And what he did was he spent one morning where he went in there with cards and he said, listen, I'm here to buy everybody, their coffee, for the morning without any of the meals they have. I'm going to pay for your coffee. And oh, by the way, here's some cards if you're looking for same sort of thing. Looking to buy, looking for a valuation on your home, fill out the card, let me know. But either way, he covered the cost of the coffee. So
The valuation on the home is pretty cool, because I don't think anyone is disinterested in how much their home is worth.
Yeah.
I think that's just a good little input.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you want to get that to be recurring, one of the things that I like to say is like, I want to give you a baseline valuation. And what that means is I'm going to tell you approximately what the market says the value of your home is today. Right. And then I like to reach out maybe every couple of months and just let you know if the value has gone up or down with that in line with that baseline valuation that I gave you originally. That way it gives them a starting point, okay, or a range, and then they can see what's going on in the market based on what happens with their house.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And even like something simple, like since I just got my name tag, I try to just wear it out. I went to the grocery store and maybe like stop at a coffee shop or, little businesses with a name tag. It's big enough.
Yeah.
So if you're making conversation, it's right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The name tag, I mean, it may sound outdated, but Vanessa is right. You will get so many people coming up to you and asking questions about that because you're wearing the name tag. It's ridiculous. I've had people that are pumping gas at a gas station, and somebody walks up, says, hey, I noticed your name tag. We're looking to sell our house. Can you come over, blah, 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 whatever. I had a woman who was like standing in line in a convenience store. She had her name tag, and she had a business card, and she reached around the guy in front of her and said, hey, if you're ever looking to do anything real estate related, let me know. Turn around, saw her name tag, took the card. He's like, yeah, come on over tomorrow. We want to sell our house.
Yeah. Even when I worked at Volkswagen, that's how I know that would work. Because people would always ask, oh, look, you work at Volkswagen? Just, questions all the time. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always love that question too. It's like, oh, you're in real estate. How's the market? I always like, in the old days, you'd be like, fine. And then where does that leave you? Nowhere. But now you turn it back on them and say, well, it depends. Are you a buyer or are you a seller? Now you're engaging in conversation. You'd be like, there's got to be a reason you asked. So let's talk about that, right? Same thing. Vanessa, when you're talking about Volkswagen, it's like, oh, you work at Volkswagen? Yeah. What's your question? Lay it on me. What do you got? Right? Be that resource, your value proposition, the value added, right? That's the other thing too. You're going to have class on value proposition if you haven't had it already. And that's fantastic, right? Start thinking about it now. What is it that sets you apart from everyone else, right? If you were in a room with 4 or 5 other agents and the homeowner came in and said, all right, I'm going to give you each 30 seconds to let me know why I should use you as an agent. What are you going to say? What's your elevator pitch? What if you're standing in line at a grocery store? What would you say to somebody who's having a real estate conversation with somebody else, right? How do you differentiate yourself? But it's for a future class here. Heidi, anything you want to throw in? Anything you want to add?
Nope, it was all good. Great ideas.
Good. Excellent. Okay, so now we're going to get into, all right, how do we identify our objectives? Okay.
Can I add one more? Sorry, I don't mean to stop you.
Well, actually, Tracy, I'm sorry, you actually did hit your quota for today. If you could save it for Monday, that'd be great. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I recently got an accountability partner. My accountability partner is pretty seasoned, like 20 years. And I was super excited when they said yes to me. And we meet once a week and, you know, we talk about what calls we're going to make for a few minutes. And then we call for 90 minutes. And then we, you know, talk to each other after for 10 so that we know what we did. And I feel like I've been more productive in my business having done that than for me just to be accountable to myself as a solo agent.
That's great. Apparently you must have gone ahead in the workbook here and seen that we're talking about that, but that's perfect. That's excellent. That sets us up for the next couple of things that we're doing. So that's good. I'm glad that you actually took initiative and you did that because you're seeing results from that too, just by taking that step of getting an accountability partner, right?
Yeah, and that's a big one for me to have someone to be accountable to so I don't slack off and actually get to my business.
Good for you. Good for you. Excellent. Excellent. Got the gold star for today. That's perfect. Nice job. All right. So now if you go to page 5 in your guide that you have here, okay, we're actually going to be talking about setting our objectives. Okay. And this is going to help us to identify the actions that we're going to take in our 411, right? Okay. So if you take a look at what we have here, we've got the cycle, and you've actually got the words in the cycle here in on page 5. And unfortunately, they don't have an acronym. Usually they have an acronym for everything that they put out here, but there's no acronym for this. So if somebody can come up with something, God bless you on that one. All right. But let's take a look at it. All right. If we're trying to identify, we're going to come up with our objectives. All right. What do we use as our guiding forces in coming up with those daily objectives? All right. What is it that we're going to put in place that's going to help us to accomplish what we want to accomplish? So, number one, okay, our objectives, they need to be identifiable. Right? Got to be identifiable. We're not just going to put in here, do something. What is it we're going to do? You know, what is it that our goal is? What is it that we want to do, right? Second, metric driven, right? Honestly, you know, how do we know what we're doing? How do we know where we're going if we can't measure our progress, right? This is why when we come up with the numbers, we come up with dollar goals and production goals, okay? Nowhere are we sitting there saying like, well, you got to, you know, stick to your numbers, look at your numbers. It's like, that is a measuring tool. That is a measuring stick upon which you can see where you're going. So yeah, you know, if you put in there that you wanted to make 300,000 and you made 250,000, is that really such a bad thing? No. Or if you wanted to sell 20 houses and you sold 18, is that really such a bad thing? No. But at least you knew where you're going. Every month that went by, you knew how you were tracking based on the goals that you set, right? Want to be metric driven, want to be measurable, things that we can actually take a look at and say like, okay, here it is, 3 months into the year, am I on track? If not, I got to readjust. This is why the 411 is broken down on a weekly basis. If we're 9 months into the year and then we suddenly realize that we are not on track on our goals, it's going to be very difficult to move that ship to get back in line, right? But if we knew after about 2 or 3 weeks that this just isn't cutting it, okay, then we make some minor adjustments on some of our actions and our activities. Right? That's why we're checking this in week after week after week, right? The third thing, attainable, right? Do we have everything in place? Do we have the processes and systems in place, all right, that are going to help us to achieve those goals? Right? They want to be attainable, okay? And with Keller Williams, you actually have everything laid out for you. And even if worse comes to worse, if you have the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book in front of you, okay, all those principles and processes and systems that are laid out in there are the same things that we use here. So even if you didn't have a productivity coach or a broker or a team leader or assistant team leader or somebody like that, or an accountability partner, worse comes to worse, you have those things in place to help you out, right? And the fourth one, purposeful, right? We've been talking about this all morning. Is it in alignment with our goals? Is this going to help us to achieve it? Is it busy or is it productive? Is it deep or is it shallow work? What is it, right? Is it going to help us to get there? If not, get rid of it. Leverage it out to somebody else. Do it later, something like that. And timely, okay? Timely is always important. Timely, we want to make sure that, okay, we're setting guidelines, we're setting timeframes in here. We're not just saying like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna sell 30 houses whenever. Is that in 1 month? Is that in 10 years? When is that? I'm gonna go do an open house. Okay, when? How many? Right? All of that. It's gotta be timely. You gotta understand.
There is an acronym for this. It's just slightly different.
Okay.
They're called SMART goals, and I put it in the chat. SMART goals are SMART. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
Perfect. There you go. See? There is an acronym. Slightly different, but there is an acronym. So that's good. So if we take a look at page 5 in our guidebook here, all right, this is going to help us to break down our first week with our 411. If we take the SMART goals, as I have them, as Heidi had pointed out, and we put them in here, okay, this is going to help us to lay it out. This is how we organize our week. And we can use this template every time we approach the next week in our 411. Look at it. What actions are we going to take? What are the things that are going to help us to get to where we want to go? What are the big rocks? What's the 20%? However you define that. So what are you hearing right now?
Map out your success plan.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Hold yourself accountable.
Certainly, absolutely. We're going to go with that a little bit more, right? Honestly, you can't get anywhere unless you have a plan and unless you take action, right? I could sit there and say like, yeah, I want to drive to California. All right. I don't know if I'm going to drive. I don't know if I'm going to fly, take a bus, whatever. Okay. Till I have that plan. Great. I want to be there by next Thursday. Okay. And I'm going to take the car and I'm going to use Waze or Google Maps or something like that. Now I'm starting to get very specific and I know which actions I want to take and I know I've got a time frame and now I can measure it. I know where I'm going as I'm getting there. This is making sense to everybody? You know, half of you are asleep. The ones with the cameras off, right? Absolutely. There you go. See? All right, perfect. So let's take a look at time blocking, right? Why is time blocking essential? If we've got our goals and we've got everything in place, all right, we talked a little bit about it in the beginning, but why is time blocking essential?
It keeps you on track.
Definitely keeps you organized more than anything, right? How many of you actually put together a time blocking schedule in your calendar?
I have a bit of it organized in the Google Calendar.
It's a great place to do it. Absolutely. Google Calendar. Great. Robert, how about you? Got your hand up. I think you're on mute too, so if you're talking.
Hey, no, yeah, I was sorry. I was just raising my hand to say that I have one. That was one of the first things I did when I jumped into real estate was I put everything into my Google Calendar, and now it just makes life so much easier because you can schedule meetings in there, you can send invitations directly to clients. Like it's super easy to use Google Calendar and it's fully integrated. And I don't know, for me, it just makes everything so much smoother.
That's great. That's good. Excellent. Anita, how about you? Get your hand up.
I time blocked several times during the week. I mean, in the day before and after Ignite for script practice because Ignite takes chunk of the day. So,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Weekends for open houses right now.
Perfect. That's great. There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's excellent. Okay, good. Yeah. So when we put together a time blocking schedule, right, we want to basically set aside time for our specific activities. All right. The big rocks, as we call it. We got to put that in our calendar. And I got to tell you too, you're going to basically revamp this numerous times. It's going to always be fluid, but you've got to have some sort of structure in there. right? How many of you go into each day with either a bunch of yellow sticky notes everywhere, trying to keep things organized, or just basically on the top of your head saying like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, what should I be doing right now? All right. Think about the wasted brain power that goes into that, right? You're sitting there and you're trying to keep track of how many appointments and calls and activities and, oh, wait, it's 10:30, Ignite's on. I should probably be focused on that. Okay. If you took that out of your hands and put it into Google Calendar, okay, or a Calendly, something like that, anything, you can write it down. I got to tell you, I use three things. I use Calendly, I use Google Calendars, and then I go old school and I've got basically this. All right. It all works for me. You may not think so, but it all works for me. All right. That's what I do. That's how I keep track of it. And things go in the calendar and I forget about it. I'll look at the night before and say, okay, what do I got going on tomorrow? Right. So whatever you can do to stay organized. And I always tell people too, at least for the folks in my program, all right, you're going to take a look at your life and you're going to organize your entire life, not just the real estate time, but your entire life. If you're a full-time agent, you've got two areas you got to focus on. Number one is real estate and number two is your personal life. All right, we're going to organize that so that everything has its place. And the reason why we do this, okay, is because we want to make sure that you are not neglecting the important things in your life. If you've got a family or significant other or something going on, right, they have their time. They don't want you texting and talking to clients while they're having dinner. Okay, it doesn't really make for good conversation unless it's a family member who's actually using you for real estate. Maybe that works. I don't know. All right. But when you put that schedule together, incorporate the family, spouses, people in there, everybody that's important to you, incorporate them in there so they can see like, yes, real estate's important to me and I've got time for it, but I also have time for you as well too. Okay. And everything has its place and everything is in line. Now, if you've got another job, okay, and let's say you're a dual career agent, now you've got three things. You've got the other job, you've got real estate and the personal. And the personal encompasses even going on errands, taking a walk or doing things like that. All right. Everything pretty much falls in that bucket, but you want to organize your life. What you may find too is that there's a lot of inefficiency that you can take out of it as well too. Maybe there are things that, you realize like, hey, I don't need to do this multiple times, or I don't need to go there and do this. Maybe it's a waste of time, right? It might help you to free up some time as well. I once was talking to an agent who would go to the grocery store 6 times a week for her family. I said, why are you going 6 times a week? She's like, I don't know. Whenever I think of it, I just go and I get something, I come home. I said, why don't you plan that out? Put out a list together, go once, maybe twice. She's like, yeah, that would probably free up about maybe 6 or 7 hours every week, which it did. So things like that, you may not even realize come up, okay? What I want to do is I actually want to show you some examples of some calendars that are out here. So when you put together your
Something
time
else I'd
block.
like to add first.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
So whenever I put something into my calendar, I color code it. Everything that's ever a money-making activity, which means going on appointments or lead generating follow-up, because remember, those are two different things. All of money-making activities is green for me. Green reminds me of money. Everything that's learning-based, like role and script partner, taking a class, something like that, is for me, learning is yellow. And everything that's me analyzing my business or tracking numbers or paying bills, anything that's like that is red. And then everything that's personal, like my day off, which counts too, and my free time, family time, all that kind of stuff that's purple. So, and then everything else is just another color. That's a system. It's a habit I created. It's a system that I follow. And it always just sort of jogs my memory of like me being purposeful to say, okay, if something is green, then I know I'm doing the right thing because the green is like my job to do that.
Absolutely. That's great. That's really good. That's terrific. That's a great tip. Absolutely. And if you're colorblind like me, you got to find a different way to do that. So, but that's excellent right there. So, Shelley, before we start, did you have your hand up before? No, you good? Okay. All right. Perfect. No worries. All right. So I actually want to share a couple of examples of schedules that are out there. Now, everybody is going to have their own way of time blocking. Okay. Everybody is going to have to come up with what works for them. No one system is going to work for everybody. And you can make it as detailed or as general as you want. I'm going to show you 2 different examples. Okay. Keller Williams actually has this in one of their books from a while. I can't remember which one it was, but this is a typical sample of an agent schedule. And you're going to see that they have everything, you know, from their workout in the morning to breakfast to reviewing the goals, role play and affirmations to their lead gen time, their follow-up time, meeting with admin, okay, preparing for appointments, scheduling lunch, okay, breakfast, lunch, workout, all these things, listing appointments, travel, okay, and then maybe doing some review at the end of the day. But do you see how detailed this is? All right. You can be as structured as this if you want to. If you want to go down like right to every 15 minutes and structure it, you know, you can go right in and you can certainly do that. Okay. There is another example that I like to show as well too, that somebody actually sent me. I don't know if anybody knows this person. However, you'll see that this individual right here has the same schedule every single day, and it's as general as you can be. So 6:30 gets to the office, does the affirmations and journaling for a half hour, script practice, calls expired, follow up, eats his falafel, follows up some more, okay? Appointments, and then on Saturday, he's got lead gen, takes Sunday off, okay? As general as you can be. Anybody want to take a guess on how much money he makes on a monthly basis? $52,000 in net gross commission income in that 1 month that he was doing this, all right? And he broke it down into basically how much it basically adds up to him per hour based on a 50 or 60 hour work week. So you can come up with whatever you want for a schedule. I've had agents that have sent me their schedule that it's been just a couple of blocks of color coding like Heidi has, and that works for them. Then there are others that are be like, oh, okay, well, I've got 15 minutes that are open during this time right here. So I've got to fill, I mean, just really crazy, but that's what they want. They want that structure. It makes it easy for them to do that. All right. You come up with what works for you, but come up with something in place so you don't have to think about it. You're going to have to tweak it. You're going to have to adjust it. The first time it's not going to be the perfect one. You're going to be like, this doesn't work for me. I got to move this around. I got to do this. Maybe you're a morning person. Maybe you're an evening person. Lead gen works pretty much all day long. So depending on when you want to do it, okay, it could be morning, evening, afternoon, whatever's easy for you. Appointments could be morning, could be evening, things like that. Come up with a system that works for you.
And another tip too is instead of that time block, if it were the 3.5 hours, like which was the first schedule that Darren showed us, I like to take that giant chunk of time and make it into a bunch of 15-minute blocks, because it's me tricking my brain to say, I know I can do this for 15 minutes. And now I do the next 15-minute block. I know I can do that one. You get to the next one, and just anything to trick your brain.
Yep.
I need a lot of little tricks. I need a lot of encouragement and support, self-support. And so that works for me.
Yeah, and speaking of which, too, I know we hit you with the Pareto principle, but I don't know if anybody heard of the Pomodoro Method, but that is something that was also, I guess, derived by someone in Italy, who basically said that maximum amount of time that we can focus on something is 25 minutes. So if we basically set a timer for 25 minutes, and when that 25-minute time is up, we take a 5-minute break. That allows us to stay refreshed during a long-term activity that we have to do. So for every 25 minutes, you take 5 minutes off, and then get right back into taking that action.
And if it's like me, you dance for 5 minutes.
Even better. That's great. There you go. Awesome. That's a good one. All right. So what are you hearing? Anybody want to share anything that maybe they've learned at this part with the time blocking?
Color coding and the 15-minute time block. That helps.
Absolutely. There you go.
And the dancing.
Nice. What else?
There's one other tip I have. I've been doing this for a lot of years now, and I really like this one thing that I do. So when I write down my calendar, I highlight in green the 5 money-making activities, or the 5 jobs that we have, the script and role play, the negotiating contracts, the lead generation follow-up, and the going on appointments. So I literally write all my things down, and then I put green highlighter over those 5. And at the very bottom of my list of everything that I do, I also have my score of 1 out of 5. So I can grade myself on, did I do 1, 2, 3, or 5 of those important jobs in a day? I still have to do other things too, but I want to grade myself on the job that I did. And then I also grade myself on my happiness level. So you can tell emotions are, my sentiment is important to me. I have to honor who I am. And so I like to grade myself. Was I happy today? Was I smiling? Am I cheerful? Because I want to make sure that I'm checking in with that, because I want to be excited about this job. And so this career, for the long haul. So it is very important for me to make sure that I'm aware that that's part of what I need to incorporate into my day. Because this is a relationship build business. I need to be able to be the person I choose to be able to relate to other people. So I can't focus only on business, and just to have my brain think that direction. I have to be a human being in this business.
Completely. How many other careers allow you to do that? That's great. How many other careers allow you to do that? That self-introspection there. I can't think of anything, really. So with this too, with your time blocking schedule, if you really want to commit to this, share it with somebody else. Share it with somebody you know. Share it with a family member. All right. Hopefully you're sharing it with the family, obviously, but maybe somebody else outside that. Maybe you got a friend of yours. Say, hey, listen, I started my career in real estate. This is what my schedule looks like. What do you think? I got a coach. I share it with my coach, and she goes in and she calls me out on it every single week. Hey, when you said you were going to do this, did you do it? So if I thought it was a 5 and I didn't do it, now it's down to a 1 because she called me out on it. But that's not the point of it. But it's just there to basically, in a way, you're being held accountable to it, which is a subject that we're going to next. Okay? Creating accountability. Okay. So has anybody ever read The One Thing by Gary Keller? Okay. Heidi has. Right. I have. Definitely. It's definitely a good book. Not so much real estate related, but it's more on the personal side, but definitely a good read. There's a podcast out there, and Gary Keller, when he wrote the book, he's been featured in a couple of other big name podcasts like Tim Ferriss and things like that. So because of the book, but basically, what's the one thing that you can do today that's going to help you to basically get to where you want to go, right? But in the book, there's a doctor that he quoted in there, and he said that individuals who write down their goals, okay, are about 40% more likely to succeed. All right. But individuals who wrote down their goals and then shared how they were doing on those goals with a friend or somebody else around them were about 77% more likely to succeed. So basically, you double, okay, the success rate just by taking that goal that you wrote down and sharing it with somebody. Why is that?
Accountability.
Yeah, accountability. And what does accountability mean?
They'll keep checking on you whether you're achieving your goal and give you a boost too.
Yeah, and it puts it out there. So sometimes when we think about things that we want, a lot of people have a lot of good ideas, but once you put it out to other people, then other people, you're sort of like, there's this human nature that we want to succeed with people. We want to show up as doing what we say we're going to do. We want to be a person of our word. And well, I always say something out loud, even if I have no idea how I'm going to get there. I'll just say I'm going to do it, and it just starts the momentum and pushes me forward.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. Excellent. That's good. Yeah. So what are some ways that we can basically create accountability? That's one way right there, right? What are some ways that we can create accountability?
I'm on a group text right now with 5 people, and we all have chosen what we want to be accountable for. And all we do is just write down the word. And we're doing it as a 66-day challenge. And that way we can just text like something that somebody else did. And just having that little bit of reinforcement that somebody else just gave the little thumbs up or a heart to the thing that you just did it. And then because I'm seeing all these little pings on my phone from the other people too, it reminds me to do my thing as well.
Definitely. That's good. That's good. Absolutely. Yeah, group text. I mean, it could be with other real estate agents. It could be with the other people that aren't even involved in real estate. People can share what it is that they're doing. I always like to tell people too that once you come up with basically your value proposition, all right, if you really want to stick to that, post a video on your Facebook page and pin it to the top. Nowadays, when somebody hears about a real estate agent, where do they go? They could go to the internet, but more likely they're going to go to social media. It's like, I want to see what this person is like. They find your business page. They see what you stand for in that video in the beginning. That's holding yourself accountable, right? That's putting yourself out there. Perfect. All right, good. So being accountable, all right? Now, accountability is essentially something that is critical to us achieving our goals, all right? It says right here, accountability is an attitude and an approach, right? With us in our business, we have to be open to being accountable, all right? The success rate of us holding ourselves accountable is half of what it'd be just by mentioning it to one other person. We just talked about that, right? That's why it's so difficult for each of us to hold ourselves accountable, right? My wife holds me accountable, right? I have a coach holds me accountable, right? A lot of times too, members of the team, I will mention something to them. They hold me accountable as well too, right? I want to actually improve and I want to make sure that I'm doing what I say I do. So by putting it out there, that's the whole thing. That's basically what I do. And it just makes it easier because now I know I've got an answer to all these people if something doesn't happen, right? And nobody's going to put up with excuses. That's the biggest thing too. Nobody's going to put up with excuses at all. And the accountability becomes a process, right? We go out there, we set our goals, start at the top, set our goals. We do the key activities. Maybe we don't do the key activities, but if we do the key activities, then we've got to take a look at it and say like, okay, when I did that, what happened? How do I measure the results, right? How do we use as a metric? If I say I'm going to get an appointment this week, and I went out and I did 3 or 4 things that I said I was going to do, did I get that appointment? If not, okay, we evaluate the process and we say, okay, maybe was it the activity or was it my skill set for that activity? We go back and we say, okay, make some adjustments. What do we have to do? If we're getting the results we want, just continue it, maybe even double down on it. But it becomes a cycle for us. It becomes something that we're always working on, we're always going through, right? The biggest thing for us is being open to feedback. We need to be open to feedback, saying like, hey, somebody says to you like, you know, man, I don't think you did what you said you were going to do. So what happened? Right? Maybe you could have done this. Maybe you could have tried that, right? We've got to be open. That feedback loop is what's going to help us to grow. If we have that growth mindset, we're going to always want to get better. There's always room for us to improve, right? We're going to strive for perfection. We're never going to be perfect, but we're going to strive for perfection in everything we do. And as we get better and better and better, okay, we may make leaps and bounds in the beginning to get better and better. And as we get closer to perfection, those increments are going to be smaller and smaller, but even a little bit of a fine tuning here and there is going to help us to get better. We actually had our script practice and role play this morning, 8:15 before I hopped on here. All right. We actually had a guy who's been in the business for 12 years. Right. He comes on every once in a while just to keep his skills fresh. And we're chatting and stuff like that. And he was going through role play that we did. We talked about a scenario and we went through it and he role played it. And he goes, you know something? He goes, I screwed that up. I didn't even think about this. I didn't even think about that. I didn't get it. And you learn from that. Somebody's been doing it for 12 years. He actually came in second place in our Market Center script challenge that we did last year. Out of 400 and some odd agents, he came in second place, and this guy still has stuff to learn. But he was open to that. He's got that growth mindset. He goes, you know, I can always be better.
That's like when I didn't get that buyer appointment.
Yeah,
and I contacted the buyer.
Mhm.
What I appreciate, you know, your time. I respect your decision to go with the agent that you chose. I'm always looking to get better at my skills. Is there anything that you can share with me that that maybe I didn't do well? Because I'd like to be able to get better for the next appointment I have. And she openly shared, because I wasn't, it was professional, and I didn't get mad at her for not choosing me. But it's holding me accountable too, to wanting to grow and learn. So it's kind of all good.
Yeah. Well, you're open to that feedback, right? That's what you want. You say, like, listen, what could I have done better? That's a perfect question right there. What could I have done better?
Right.
What was the deciding factor?
Right. And I also had gotten a listing when the seller, he interviewed 6 people. It's just the way he rolls. That's part of his process. So when I did end up getting the listing, I said, I'm thankful that you chose me. May I ask what caused you to choose me? Because again, I'd like that reinforcement of what it is that I am doing well.
That's great too. That's great feedback. Yep. Yeah, one of the biggest listings I ever got was this, beautiful home, close to a mansion, I guess. And again, same situation, going up against, I don't know, there must have been 3 or 4 other agents. I don't remember what the number was, but they chose me. And I asked them, I said, same thing. I said, so, what was the deciding factor there? I was the only agent that told them that their house was beautiful, because it was. I said, you got a fantastic home. She'd have no problem selling it. It's a beautiful home. And they said, no other agent said that. And that was the deciding factor.
And that was the reason that I didn't get a listing one time, because she said the other agent had complimented the home. And if I hadn't asked the question, why didn't I get that listing, I wouldn't have known to make the adjustment there as well.
Excuse me, Heidi, why did he choose you out of the 6?
Well, their first reason was, they said, you're the only one that showed up with a laptop. And the fact that you had a laptop meant that you had a wealth of knowledge to look anything up while we were having conversations. Now, I never would have thought that at all. If I hadn't asked the question, never would have occurred to me.
Right. That's great. That's good. That's great. See, it's the little things like that, but you learn as you go. No 2 experiences are going to be the same when it comes to real estate. You're going to have stories galore. When the 2 realtors are talking, that sharing stories, it's just, there's so many things that happen out there. But the other thing that's going to happen also in this business is that you're going to be on an emotional roller coaster. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. And the lows are going to be very low and the highs are going to be really high. And you've got to learn to manage your reaction to those events that goes on. All right. And if you have an accountability partner, okay, and things aren't going well, and that accountability partner is giving you feedback you may not want to hear, you got to be open to it.
And be grateful. Be grateful. Exactly. Be grateful when you have a failure, because you're probably going to fail forward. Yep. Be grateful when somebody says no to you, because if you know that you have 20 calls that you're going to be making in an hour, and somebody just said no, great. Now you're ready to talk to the next 19 people.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. Good. All right. So here's a question for everybody right now, and I want you to write this down. Who's holding you accountable? At this point, who's holding you accountable? Right? Because if we take a look at what we want to do here, right? We have to go out there and we have to find somebody who can hold us accountable. Maybe you have a coach. If you have a coach, that person's holding you accountable. If you have a coach and you still want somebody else, ask a family member, a friend, find another real estate agent, either in this group or in your office. Find somebody to hold you accountable and have each of you share what it is that you're actually asking them to hold you accountable to. So you both can grow from that, right? Go out there, put your goals out there. Like I said, put it out in a video so that everybody can see it, right?
And it could be a family member. It could be a child even.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I make X number of calls today, you can ask me at the end of the day, did I do my job? And you say yes, when I do my job, then we can go for a walk or something like that. They can hold you accountable. They don't have to know exactly what it is you're doing, the minutia of it. But if you put it out there to somebody else that you want that help, but make it reciprocal. because you always want to come from contribution. So how is it that you can help somebody else? I actually have an accountability partner. I have never met her ever. I don't even remember how I know her. But we are accountability partners for if we do meditation, even if it's like 30 seconds and we don't even know what we're doing, as long as we text each other, I've done it, and we fall off the wagon sometimes for a couple of months and then kind of get back on. I don't even know who she is, but I have her number and we're accountability partners for meditating.
That's great. That's perfect. That's good. Excellent. There you go. That's a planning your check-in. You check in with somebody, even if you don't know who they are, never met them, plan your check-in with them, right? Instead of that date, make it a recurring date that you check in once a week. Okay. Don't go any longer than that, at least once a week, if not sooner. Or maybe say, hey, on an emergency basis too, in between, like I know we're supposed to meet every Wednesday at 10 o'clock or touch base. Okay. But if something happens on Monday, can I reach out to you? Absolutely. Right. Because honestly, if you look at this, it goes back to what we said in the beginning. We're the CEOs of our own corporation. Nobody is out there to help us. It is ultimately up to us. But having the support of an accountability partner is going to help you to stay on track and get you through the highs and the lows. Make sure you don't get too big on the highs and make sure you don't get too low on the lows. Okay. But having that accountability partner is something that's really going to help you, at least in the long run. And think about it, after a while, you're going to basically become a mentor to somebody else. You're going to become an accountability partner to probably more than just that one person. And it's going to grow and expand. And that's how you're going to be able to contribute and give back based on your experiences. Make sense? All right, good. I see Anita with a thumbs up. Awesome. There you go. Good. All right, perfect. As long as you get one, I'm good. I'm good. All right. Well, we are at 11:04. Let's take a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we're just going to have a recap. I'm going to show you a quick video. We're going to talk about some things. And then I want to spend some time on basically role playing and script practicing on some scenarios that people may have out there. All right. Sound good? All right, perfect. So let's say that we are at 11:05. Let's say 11:10. We'll check back in. Cool. Thank you, everybody.
I just took the weirdest break. It's rainy here, so the kitchen was a little dark. So I reached in the cabinet for peanut butter, for like a quick bit of peanut butter, and I reached in accidentally for the unsweetened cocoa powder. And I ended up spitting it out in just like puffs of cocoa powder. Oh man,
Oh man,
that was
is
bad.
crazy. Gee, wow. Okay, all right. That is funny. That is funny. That
It was
is
funny.
it's good. You know? But hey, that just goes to show like what happens is, if you're not you're dark, you're not paying attention and all that stuff too. Anything and anything can happen. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's been downpouring here where we are like crazy. So
Mhm.
since about 5 this morning, it's just been constant. So there you go. Living in New England, right?
That's right. I like every weather.
Perfect. Good, good.
And I like cocoa powder with my peanut butter.
It's your own version of a peanut butter cup. There you go. See? All I can picture is just a puff of cocoa powder going everywhere. So it's
The
nice.
sink right now is a mess. There's like
Yeah.
cocoa powder for me, just like.
As long as it wasn't that cinnamon challenge, right? Where you try to, eat a scoop of cinnamon and just that, I guess you can't do that. I don't know. So talk to my kids about that. All right. So everybody comes back here. What are we hearing? What are some ahas that we actually have learned in this scenario here?
I'm working on my value proposition, and you suggested to do a video and put it and pin it on top so it stays. So that was, but I don't know how to pin it, but I think there is a selection there. And okay, thank
Good.
you.
Yeah, I'm the last person to talk to about social media. Social media to me is old school, talking to somebody face to face, to be honest with you. But I'm sure somebody knows how to do that, and if they do,
Yeah.
they can share it with you. So
Okay, thank you.
perfect. There you go. Good. What else? What else are we hearing here?
I learned something new.
Okay.
It's not even new, but it just sort of cemented it in a different way.
Sure.
So the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and then taking those efforts and putting it into your 411, and then taking those things and putting it into your calendar. Like they all tie together. Like, oh, why didn't I think of that before?
Absolutely. Link them all. No, I mean, that's great though. But here's the thing though, too. See, how long have you been in business? And just by a simple conversation, the two of us, we're basically teaching the class. Now, all of a sudden you got enlightenment on something that you thought was like, okay, I already knew that, but you see it in a different perspective. That's good. Absolutely. I always learn something new every time I actually teach this class, no matter who I'm working with or group that's in here. There's always things that I'm taking away as well, too. Shelley, how about you? You got your hand up?
I do actually have two comments, actually, and I want to thank Annie for bringing up the newsletter that she's doing, because of the community newsletter, which I love, because I worked at a bank many moons ago, and I used to do one for the staff weekly, and they enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the creativity of it, the process. My second comment is that I'm a combo of, I have three ways in which I schedule and track as well. I use Google Calendar. I use an old-fashioned big block calendar, and I also I feel I use my post-it notes wisely. I put post-it notes on the side of a page of something that needs my attention but is not priority, and when I'm finished with that task, I just love that feeling of throwing them away, and that's done. So I have three ways I block my time and track where my priorities lie.
Right.
That's all.
That's great. That's good. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. What else? Anybody have anything else that they want to share? Any ahas?
If I may, I got one aha today. I've learned at least two great things. When I go to to a homeowner that trying to sell their house, and to win that listing from them, I would definitely take my laptop with me, and then I tell them that the house is beautiful.
Excellent. There you go. So you're covering all your bases, Andy. That's it. That's it. It's as simple as that, right?
Right, Heidi?
That's good. That's good. Perfect. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Hopefully everybody took something away from this, at least one item of value. But I want to kind of go into something else that we have here. I just actually want to share a video with everybody. I'm not sure if anybody knows who David Goggins is, but he's actually been featured in a few different kind of publications and TV shows and things like that. But he is somebody who is, he likes to talk the story about how he was, he weighed over 300 pounds. He came from a terrible home life. Things are bad. And he actually basically told himself he was going to lose the weight and he was going to become a Navy SEAL, which he ended up doing. Now he's very, very, methodical and very strict in terms of the way that, he disciplines his life. But there's a lot of good quotes that he has here. And I want you to share this video. It's just a few minutes long. It has some of his quotes in here. I went through this last night and trying to say, like, all right, what are some things that are applicable to what we have going on here? And I think this video actually highlights a lot of things that we can certainly apply and we can take away from our conversation today here. So let me actually just play this so that everybody can see it. There's not anybody talking. It's more of a visual aspect than anything else. But I want everybody to actually pay attention to the quotes that are coming through here, okay? All right. So what do we take away? Anybody have a quote out of the 5 that resonated with them, or what do we think?
Believe in yourself.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Absolutely. That's really good too. Mm-hmm.
Don't make excuses.
Don't make excuses. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's great. One of the things that I like to say too, especially when it comes to, failing, you say you may fail 100 times. If you fail 100 times, if you fall down 100 times, whatever it is, get up 101 times, right? And one of the things that you want to remember too is liken it to an analogy of, let's say that you've got a big boulder in front of you and they give you a sledgehammer. All right. First time that you hit that boulder, you're not going to break it, but you keep whacking away at it. And let's say after about 99 swings, that rock just does not break. Okay. Do you think that the 99 swings that you took didn't do anything to that rock? No, it's actually getting you closer and closer. And what if you swung it that 100th time and that rock broke, busted into a million pieces? Right? It's going to take work. It's going to take effort to get there. So the more times that you're swinging on that rock and you're just swinging away, at some point it's going to break, it's going to bust up. Robert, you got your hands up?
Yeah, I was gonna say that get comfortable with the uncomfortable. That's one that I think that I just started in July is when I quit my last job and I moved into this. And I was a chef for 15 years before I moved into real estate. So, I was already comfortable with the uncomfortable, but it's a different kind of uncomfortable. I had my first closing yesterday, and boy, that was an awkward situation. There, the tension was thick in that room, but we all pushed through. And I think that as a realtor, you're kind of a mediator too when you're sitting down at that room. You get down to that closing table. We had nice people on both sides of the table, but the energy was very. Oh, I don't even know how to put it, but it was definitely intense. So get comfortable with the uncomfortable is something that I think that really resonated to me with that. And I think that, I don't know. I just wanted to put that out there. Sometimes, you get to the closing table. It doesn't matter if both sides are saints. You get down, sitting down at the table. If they got opposing viewpoints, different, everybody comes from different backgrounds. So situations can quickly turn from comfortable to uncomfortable in a heartbeat. And it's part of our job to be able to smooth the situation and remediate it. So I just want to put that out there. That's my thought.
That's good. That's good. There's a learning, experience that you had based on, the event that happened in real estate. That's perfect. That's great. Absolutely.
And congratulations, Robert, for your closing.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
One of many at that point. So that's good. Yeah. Congratulations. So
I also, when things are hard, like doing what David did, celebrate your little successes along the way. Every day you're going to be learning new things, growing in some way. So it's part of that being and staying in gratitude, but celebrate that you recognize that you had a success, because it'll make it easier to remember that bigger picture of like, there's a long road to go to get to success. But if you are sort of self-deprecating because of the magnitude of it all, it could weigh you down. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, I think I had somebody ask me, say, well, how am I going to know if I'm doing anything? What if I'm at this for 6 months? I have no idea. Nothing's happened. What's going on? And I told her, I said, I want you to journal every day. And I want you to talk about what you learned and what you did. And you're going to be surprised that all those little days, all those little things you do add up. So in the beginning, you're going to say like, well, I'm completely lost. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I made my first phone call today. And pretty soon I made one of my first appointments. Right? Put my first listing together, what it is. 6 months, you're going to go back and you're going to read it and you're like, wow, there is a lot that I actually accomplished. There's a lot that I learned, and there's a lot that I'm doing now that I didn't even think I was going to do last week or 6 months ago, whatever it is. Okay. Journal, keep track of what you're doing. And you're going to see your progress. You're going to see everything happen, and you're going to be amazed at what you can do. Right? Now, I know we talk about taking action. We talk about little things, doing as many of those things that you can that are going to add value, right? And a lot of people shy away from that. They say, well, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to let things happen to me. I'm just going to sit here and wait. And again, we're still waiting for that phone to ring of somebody who's just going to randomly call you and say, hey, guess what? I've got $1 million home I want you to list. Okay, not going to happen. So you don't have to take the actions, but you also don't have to be in real estate either. You're just going to be blunt about that, right? If you take action, good things will happen. If you don't want to take action, then you're going to be right where you are. I always like to say we either get better or we get worse. So if you're stationary, you're not getting any better. One way to look at it is that if you're faced with an action that you need to take and you're not sure about it, we look at the short term and the long term here. It's the pain versus pleasure principle, okay? We take a look at that action. Let's say like, gee, I really don't want to call my database. Okay, great. In the short term, what's the pain of taking that action? Now, conversations might be a little awkward. Yeah, to start, if I haven't talked to somebody in 7 years, might be. I'll tell you based on experience, it's really not that bad. But let's just say, okay, in my mind, I'm creating this image of like, wow, if I make that call, that person's going to yell at me because I haven't talked to them in 7 years. Okay, all right, get over that maybe in the first couple of seconds, and then they'll be like, hey, thanks for reaching out. Right? Okay, but it's a little uncomfortable. I don't want to be uncomfortable right now. Okay, great. Don't worry about it. What's the pleasure of not taking that action? Well, I get to watch Judge Judy, or maybe I actually just, get to just hang out with my friends or something like that. Perfect. It's great. Awesome. Short term, pain, a little awkward, pleasure. Hey, I don't have to do anything and I'm going to enjoy life. Excellent. Take it the long-term view. Okay. What's the long-term cost of not taking that action? No business, which equates to no real estate career. Right? We don't take that action. We don't have any activity. We don't have appointments. We have nothing. We don't have those goals, right? How many of us put the big why out there? Why we got into real estate? We got into real estate for any one number of personal reasons. That goal is no closer than it was when you're hanging out with your friends or watching Netflix or whatever it is, okay? But what's the long-term gain of taking that action? Things start to happen. Momentum builds, right? So every time that you're not sure about what you want to do, all right, weigh that, the short-term versus the long-term cost versus the long-term gain. The short-term pleasure versus the short-term, pain and pleasure versus the long-term pain and pleasure, okay? How many of you know who Mel Robbins is? Anybody have a idea of who she is? Anybody hear of her? Okay, I'm sure, she's around a lot of podcasts. She has her own podcast. She had her own TV show. One of the things that she just kind of stumbled upon one day, and there's a long story behind it, but she basically stumbled on the 5-second principle. Now, the 5-second principle is just basically one of these things that helps you to actually just take action. What happens is that if you know that you've got to take an action, the longer it takes you to take that action, the more your brain has time to sit there and say, like, you don't want to do that. Don't do that. Why would you do that? Don't do that. But if you intercept that message before it comes to fruition and take that action, you're better off. So for instance, you wake up in the morning, you're like, I really want to get out of bed and go exercise. I really don't. I'd rather just stay here. It's nice and warm and dry and everything. Okay, great. All right. But if you count down from 5 to 1, 5-second principle, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. Get out of bed. You intercept that message and you give yourself time to just get going. And the more that you do that, the more you're just going to act on things. It's like, I got to make that call. Boom, pick up the phone, dial, and hit go. Whatever it is, dial it and go. If you're sitting there and you're looking at your phone and you're ruminating and you're just saying like, what do I do? Do I, don't I? Your brain has time to sit there and say, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Go sit over there and log into Netflix. So incorporate that 5-second principle if that helps, right? But you got to sit here and you say like, look, it's up to me. No one's going to help me here. It's up to me. I got to take action. That's where the consistent action comes into place. Does that make sense? Okay, did I scare the hell out of everybody right now? Okay, all right, that's good. That's good. We had some people that dropped off here, so I wonder if that's what happened. But anyway, Heidi, what would you like to add? What do you want to add here?
There's just that saying that's like pain weighs tons, while what is it? What's the thing about ounces and tons? The pain of not doing something weighs, or the pain of doing, I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure it out. The pain of doing something weighs tons, while the pleasure weighs ounces, or the gain weighs ounces, something like that. I don't know. I forget how it goes, but I used to like it. Now I kind of forgot it. So never mind. Scrap
I'm
that.
not familiar with that. I know trust, like they say trust. Trust is earned in thimbles, but lost in buckets. I've heard that, but the other one, we'll have to look that up. We'll have to get that out there. All right, good. All right, perfect. So we've talked about some of the things that we learned today and some of the ways that we can take action and what we can do in terms of putting our schedule together, getting our objectives down, and actually taking action and doing things, okay? So we've got daily success habits that we incorporate into every one of these Ignite sessions. So are people having luck reaching out to 10 contacts, having 10 conversations a day, writing 10 handwritten notes, and maybe going on 10 home previews? You know, the home previews, it's a bit much. There are 10 of them, but what do we have? Are we having any success with any of the things that are on here on our 10-4?
I have a question. When you say home previews, are you talking about actually going into the home or just previewing on MLS?
Actually going into the home, walking through the home to get a feel for it. So that's why I said it's a little much in a week, but has anybody done anything with even going to see one home, maybe two homes?
I did 7 last week.
Wow, okay, 7, excellent, great. Do I hear 8?
4 plus 3 on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, beautiful, nice.
The first one was scary, but then it got better.
First time is always scary. After that, it gets easier, right?
Yeah.
All right, so it'll
I'm
be like
new
an
to
auction
the-
house. Do I hear 8?
I'm new to the area, and do you just call the listing agent to walk through? Or I know there's the open house thing that happens weekly. I'm not really familiar with that or how that works.
Yep. There's lots of ways to do it. Number one, look for the open houses on the weekend. So I know Anita, she started there. Okay, look for open houses that are scheduled, right? But then even beyond that, you know, look for houses in the MLS system, maybe even preferably ones that are unoccupied, so you don't have to disturb, you know, family, and set up the showing on showing time if you have that as part of your MLS or whatever the scheduling app is, and then go and take a look at houses, walk through them. Okay, one of the things that we like to do maybe once a month is on Saturdays, I'll actually find an unoccupied home that one of our KW agents has. And then I invite the folks that are in our coaching program to go and walk through the house. I'll point out all the things that they should be looking for when they show a house. So maybe there's something like that that can be organized if you don't have that already in your market center.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's take a look at scripts. All right. How many people love scripts? Yeah, exactly. Nobody, right? Nobody loves scripts. Okay. Why don't we like scripts?
Because they feel a little unnatural at the beginning.
Right. But if I were to sit there and say, like, okay, tell me how you would handle, okay, sitting there at a listing appointment, and the homeowner says, you know, we're thinking about selling it on our own. How are you going to handle that objection? What would you say? Anybody know? Okay, probably, you know, it's good if we brush up on this stuff. Now, scripts are basically formatted a certain way. And yes, if we're sitting there and we're reading them word for word, we are going to sound robotic. We are going to sound unnatural. The trick for us, okay, is to read these scripts and internalize them. Write notes, find out what it is that they're trying to say as part of the script. Okay, what's the point that they're trying to get across with what they're saying? If you take a look at the script books that we have for Spark and Elemental that everybody has, okay, take a look at, even in the first one in Spark, how to introduce yourself to everybody as a real estate specialist. How to let everybody know that you're with Keller Williams, right? Take a look at that. And however you want to make it your own, go ahead and do that. Take notes, highlight it, rewrite it. I've had several agents that take those objection handlers and scripts and everything that's in there and rewrite it according to how they would say it. And really read those every day. Read them and read them and read them. And better yet, role play with somebody else. If you've got a group that's in your market center, join in and just listen in. You don't have to participate right away. Just listen in. Hear how other people are doing it. And then start doing it yourself. Practice with another agent. Practice with somebody in this group. Practice with somebody in your office. Practice with a relative, a friend, a significant other, anybody. Right? I had an agent one time who said that she would walk around and every once in a while if her husband was in the room, he'd throw out an objection handler and just test her just to see if she knew what to say. Right? And go over everything. And when you come to objection handlers, just learn one or two for every objection that's out there, okay? And the reason why we want to do that is because, okay, if we start to learn every objection handler for every objection, we're going to get overwhelmed. Just learn one or two and use it. And then as you get more and more comfortable, start using the other ones. But it's up to us to go out there and start to learn these things and have these conversations. There are plenty of other agents that are out there that work at other firms that do not do this. Okay, I fought it in the beginning. I didn't want to do this, but I learned to embrace it. This is the #1 tool that we have as real estate agents. To go out and have real estate conversations, this is what's going to help us. Okay, but go out there and practice and practice and practice. It's one of the 5 essential elements, right, of a successful real estate agent. So let's do this. Let's talk about this. Did anybody ever run into a conversation or have something that just happened as a real estate agent that they weren't sure how to handle? Maybe a conversation on the phone, maybe being in person, maybe it was a listing appointment, maybe they called expireds for sale by owners. We can role play this. I'll go first.
I'll go first.
Okay, Anita, what you got here?
I went to the open house. My MCA advised, this is how I say. So I went like, hi, I'm Anita from Keller Williams. Do you mind if I look around? Just checking the market. The first one, the second, third were a little uncomfortable. They asked if you had a buyer's agent. Then I got nervous and said my market has, but then I didn't like the response. So the fourth one I changed and said, no, I don't have a buyer. I'm just checking the market. And they were okay with it. And then the second day was a breeze. I made 2 new agents and made friends, and that
There you
was
go.
nice.
Okay, that's perfect. So let's flip it the other way. All right. If you're standing at an open house and you're hosting it, and somebody walks in, what's the first question that we're going to ask them? What do we say? How do we introduce ourselves? What happens? How about this? Okay.
Are you looking for buying a house? Are you just checking the value of your property?
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I was going to say is like, hey, welcome to the open house. Typically, when somebody comes to an open house, they're either looking to buy a home or they're looking to sell their own home. Which category do you fall in? And instead of saying, are you working with an agent? Too general. Say, listen, do you happen to have a signed agreement with an agent? What's the difference?
One's a contract and you can't touch them.
Exactly. Exactly. At that point, hey, great. Take a look around. I'll follow up. If you want to give me the name of your agent, I'll follow up with them and let them know that you were here. Okay, if they have a signed agreement. If they don't, it's open season. There we go. Let me give you a personal tour of the house. How about that? Right? What else? What are some other scenarios? What are some other things that we want to talk about role play? Go ahead, throw them out there.
To get the people who do service, we bought a house last year and we have people, I told them I'm going to. So I'm practicing how to talk to them and tell them I joined Keller Williams and if they would like to do business, if I refer clients, that script I was practicing.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Perfect. If somebody threw in the chat, I want an experienced agent. Ooh, that's good. That's good. Right? How many of you run into that? Or how many of you anticipate running into that? Okay. What's the first question that we ask? If somebody says, yeah, you know, we actually want somebody with experience.
I understand you want someone with experience, but I'm working for the #1 brokerage in the country and I have the whole team to support me. And if you hire me, I have my whole market center assisting you.
Okay, that's good. Sure, we can come back with that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Person who asks questions controls the conversation. So what would we say? Somebody says to me, I want an experienced agent. Okay, terrific. What's important about that? That's what I would ask them. What's important about that?
Oh,
Well, we see so-and-so signs, they're all over the place. So if we're going to sell our house, she seems to have the corner of the market. It's like, okay, great. Well, certainly, I'm sure you got that impression from her, but the fact that she's all over the place means that her attention is spread out everywhere. Okay. Not only that, but Mr. and Mrs. Seller, where do you think your buyer is going to be coming from? Do you think your buyer is going to be coming from in town? Chances are they're going to be coming out from another town, another state, even another country. Since Keller Williams is the largest brokerage in the world with close to 190,000 agents in 51 countries, the network we have is pretty strong. Not only that, but while you may get a percentage of their attention, I'm going to give you 100% of mine.
Wow, that's good.
Heidi, what would you say that? Do you have anything that you would typically, if you run into that, what would you say?
Yeah, what would say, just say the objection again.
Okay, really thank you for coming over. Appreciate you, coming and listening, but we really are looking for an experienced agent.
I'm thinking. It sounds like what you're looking for is somebody who understands the market. And I spend time every day examining the market and interpreting it. So the words aren't coming out yet.
You got it. You got it.
Keep going.
Yeah, well, sure. Unless you want to stop right there. That's good too.
Right.
Say like, hey, listen. Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I didn't know if you actually had a standard.
It's always hard because I'm really good one-on-one, and it's harder for me in front of a bunch of people with scripts. But what you had mentioned the other one before about somebody can give 70%, somebody might give 70% of the time and you give your full time. I often say because I'm a solo agent, I'll often say as a solo agent, I like to wrap my arms around the entire transaction so that I'll be part of all the details and nothing will get lost in the cracks.
And that's great too. Let's say that they say, well, we had so-and-so team over here. They came in and they said they've got about, 72 people that are working on their team, and it's just you. So your response to that would be perfect in that situation. It would be absolutely perfect. Right? One of the other things that you can say when you talk about wanting experienced agents, say like, listen, every day I spend a dedicated 3 to 4 hours in the morning, whatever it is, okay? And I'm looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. Okay. I'd love to actually do that with your listing.
And that is what you want in an agent, right?
Absolutely. See, there you go. We could piece all this together. Certainly, we can come up with a objection handler for everything that's out there. So good. What else? What other objections do you think you're going to run into, or what other things? Okay, Shelley, you got your hand up. There you go. What do you got?
I just wanted to mention that way back at some point earlier last week in one of the Ignite sessions, somebody mentioned you don't have to state that you're new. Somebody stated it's your first year with Keller Williams, then jump to Keller Williams and what that support means to you, what you can bring to the transaction in addition to your value prop.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. That could be part of your value proposition. Maybe when you put your value proposition together, it's a combination of what you have to offer and what Keller Williams has to offer. Like what I would say is with our market center, I would go in and say like, listen, I come from an office that we have 437 agents. Okay. And we're spread out for every corner of the state. Okay. And those 437 agents are working with buyers and with sellers. So I've got a very strong network behind me of agents who are in the market with potential folks for your house. And I've got a resource system that I can tap into at a moment's notice, anything that you need. And if I don't know the answer, I can get it very quickly. Perfect. What else? What do we got here?
Hi, good morning.
Hey, Tony.
So say we get an appointment, how can we get someone to sign an agreement?
Okay. Buyer's agreement or a listing agreement?
Buyers.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Great. That's perfect. That's a great one. All right. Heidi, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to go? What do you want?
Can you repeat the question again?
She's basically asking if we're at a buyer's appointment, how do we get them to sign a buyer's agreement?
Okay, so why don't you go?
Okay, all right, no worries. You say like, listen, we've had a chance to go through the buyer's agreement, all right? And just like if you were working with an accountant or working with an attorney, there's always a commitment on both parties, okay? And what this represents is my professional commitment to you. I'm going to do everything I can to give you 100% of my attention to make sure that we find you the home of your dreams. And all this is just a professional commitment. And in some way, I'm not living up to my end of the bargain. You have every right to ask to be removed or split from that agreement, and we can go our separate ways. But I'm going to give you 100% of my time, 100% of my focus, and it's all right there in black and white.
I have a question. If for whatever reason, if you have a listing and they, and they kind of want to fire you just because they don't want you, and say you've done like some marketing and, pictures or whatever you do. Here, I'm new to New England. So here, do we, like, does our broker, does the brokerages like charge like for like the time and money that's been put if they decide to walk away and you not be their listing agent anymore?
Well, in that instance, I would say no. It's just basically a lost expense.
Okay.
Unless there's something unique about your market center, which I don't know which market center you're in. You'd have to talk to maybe the team leader or the broker about that as well. But there shouldn't be anything. But again, that's dependent on your market center. So.
Okay, thanks.
Going back to the buyer's agreement, Heidi, is there anything that you wanted to add? Maybe if there's something different way that you approach it?
Well, for the last scenario that someone just mentioned, I would also say it's okay if you do want to get out of the contract. It's okay that we could have a divorce. Yet before I'll let you go, I will end up asking you, is there anything that I could have done differently? Because there's potentially a misunderstanding. Yet, let's first figure that out and see if there's a resolution. If not, I just like to know what it is that you weren't happy with so I can learn for the next time.
Right.
And when I did that and somebody got out of a contract, the attorney that they were working with emailed me right after, and he said, "You handled that really professionally. What areas do you work? What kind of people do you like to work with? Because I'd like to refer business to you."
Perfect. That's great. That's excellent. And one of the things you have to remember too, even though that you may be a new agent, okay, all right, go out there with confidence. You know more than 90% of the people that are out there just by the fact that you have a license, okay? When you're talking to somebody, it's a listing appointment, buyer's appointment, whatever it may be. Don't come across as being like, I gotta have this business. This is a person, I gotta have this. Go out and explain to them in the beginning, expectations. Say like, listen, just as much as you're interviewing me, I'm also interviewing you. We want to make sure that this is a good fit on both our parts. So that way, if it's not, hey, we can part as friends, we can go on our way, that's great. But if it works together, it's got to work for both of us in this instance. And that usually catches people off guard because they think that every time they talk to a realtor, they're just going to jump at the business. They're going to do everything that they ask them to. It's like, no. We're professional and we're not desperate for every piece of business.
But don't stay married to the outcome, because then you won't get emotionally tripped up. Yeah.
And you have every right to sit there and say, oh, go ahead.
Ask people too, what is it that you're looking for in an agent?
Yeah.
Because somebody might say honesty or getting back to me right away. And you could have no real estate experience and maybe be good at both of those things right off the bat. So it's a confidence boost. And then okay, there's less things for you to potentially nail because you already have two in the bag.
Yeah, you got it. What else? What are some other scenarios? What are some other things that you want to basically throw out there in terms of how to handle any objections, any situations, things like that?
Someone put one in the chat. I'd like to sell my own home. Why should I hire you? That's from Linda.
There you go. It's a FSBO. FSBOs. Ah, yes. I'll tell you, out of all of the people that you call, at least in my impression, for sale by owners, those are the toughest ones. And you got to catch them at the right time. So typically with for sale by owners, what I recommend is that you call them up, you ask them, number one, say like, listen, has a house been sold? You don't know, may not be on MLS. And number two, okay, when you're talking to them, just ask them, say like, tell me why you're looking to sell it on your own. Okay. Third question, how long has it been on the market? Because this is going to drive which path you take. Now, for sale by owners, when you catch them in the first few weeks, first few days, whatever it is, they are not confident, it's cocky. They are so sure they're going to sell, especially in today's market, which is outstanding. I mean, we could put a shed out there right now in today's market, and we could probably get a good offer on it. That's great. Getting the offer is fantastic. That's step one. There's about 13 other steps after that sale by owners trip up, but they don't realize that. They only care about getting the offer and they think everything's going to fall into place. So talk to them, ask them those questions. The third one, say, well, the house has been on the market for 2 weeks. Okay, fantastic. Well, I applaud you for putting it on the market. You know, I actually happened to notice it when I was driving by. I stumbled upon your home because I saw the sign out in front. Okay. Now, I work in an office with 437 other agents, and I'm sure that nobody else knows about it. Okay. And about 95% of the people out there that buy a home typically use a real estate agent. So what I'd love to do is come by, see if I can preview the home through the eyes of a buyer, either for my clients or for any one of the other 437 agents in my office, so I can get the information to them, and maybe we can kill two birds with one stone. You get one of our buyers under contract, you get your home sold. So can I come by tomorrow at 10 o'clock or Saturday at 3? Which one works better for you? Okay. Now, that's the thing. We're going there, and we're not saying, I've got a buyer, I'm going to bring a buy. That is what all the other agents are doing. They bait and switch, and that completely irritates the for sale by owner. We're going there, we're saying like, look, I just want to preview the house. I don't want your listing right now. I really don't. Because right now you're a pain in the ass. I don't want your listing. I want to come by and I want to see the house. When I'm there, now I'm going to ask the technical questions. Tell you what, can I have copies of the disclosures? Oh, you don't have them? Okay, great. You definitely need those, at least in Connecticut. Who's doing the negotiating? Oh, your attorney? Oh, your attorney charges by the hour, huh? That can get pretty expensive. At least with us, we've got a fixed cap on what we're going to earn, whether it takes 50 hours or 150 hours. Okay. Did you do a pre-home inspection? Oh, you didn't? Okay, well, what happens if inspection issues come up? How'd you come up with your price? What if there's an appraisal issue? Gee, it really seems like you don't know what you're doing. Of course, I'm not going to say that, but you just leave them with that. You're planting the seeds. Every Monday, I'm going to be calling them up and I'm going to say, hey, did your house sell? Do you have an open house? And if you know other open houses in the area occurred, I'm going to say, okay, you know, there's a house 2 streets over from you that had an open house. They had 12 people. You didn't have any? Oof. Okay. Well, we're still looking, you know, might work for, well, I'll check in with you next week. After about 7, 8 weeks of this, or if you catch them on that 7th or 8th week, they'll wonder why things didn't happen. Or maybe they've already had 2 offers on it. I've had this situation. They've had 2 offers on it, and both of them fell through. Why do you think it fell through? Why do you think it hasn't sold yet? That's strange. What are you doing for marketing? Oh, you put it in that little flyer that's in the grocery store that everybody passes by when they walk in and nobody takes it? Okay. Tell you what, I'd love to come by. Let me show you what we do to get houses sold for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Okay. Do you have time tomorrow at 10 o'clock or Monday at 3? Which works for you? That cockiness, they went to confidence, that's now kind of like, what am I doing? It's falling into place. And when you ask those questions to plant those seeds, that's what they're thinking about. So don't sit there and say like, you know, I'd like to sell my home. Why should I hire you? It's like, hey, no, you know, depending on where it is, if it's really early in the process, it's one thing. If it's late in the process, it's something else. Go for the listing late in the process. But if it's early in the process and they say, why should I hire you? Say like, listen, you know, I'm not looking to be hired by you. I have potential buyers that are out there, and agents in my office have buyers. We don't know about your house. Flat out, we do not know about your house. Let me come by, take a look at it. So, well, why don't you bring buyers by when you get them? Like, not in this day and age, all right? I could be traipsing through with buyers 3-4 times a day. I don't want to do that with everything going on, with COVID and all that stuff. You just do it once. I'll take my notes and I'll be out of there. So that's a long way to answer it, but.
Sorry, at the point where you're telling them you're gonna, you know, want to come over and you're gonna show them what we can do to market. Is
Yep.
that the listing? That's a listing presentation that you're gonna make for
Exactly.
them.
Yep. Yeah, listen, sounds to me like you're not getting the results that you planned on. And then you bring it back to motivation. I remember the first time that we talked, you said you were going to go to South Carolina. You want to be closer to your grandkids, and you're hoping to do that by Christmas. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. How important is it for you to get there maybe by early 2022? Love to help you to get down there. Definitely want you to be there with your grandkids, especially as the weather turns. Let's see what we can do to help make sure that happens. So in the beginning, you're going over there and you're looking at it through the eyes of the buyer, but you're planting the seeds in terms of like, look, there's more to it than just getting an offer, right? Beyond that, later on in the process, now I'm approaching it from being like, okay, let me see if I can help you out here. Make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And I admire that you have a system for all of the follow-up system times to what you're going to do each time that you are following up. I tend to take a shortcut. Doesn't always work.
But no, absolutely. Love to hear it.
My
Yes.
shortcut would be something like, are you looking to get a multiple offer? And if they're already now blindsided. So in order to get a multiple offer, how big of a net do you think you need to cast in order to have multiple offers? How big of a net do you think it is right now? And then I explain that as an agent, what I do, and this is just in a conversation, what I do, and so that I'm casting out a huge net and going extremely marketing heavy as fast as possible from the time it goes on the market, so that I'm likely to get the multiple offer. And is that what you would like? If price isn't the most important thing for you, that's okay. But if price is important to you, because I assume that's why you're selling on your own, right? Then that's kind of the approach I take.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get that in the beginning. You say like, listen, so what makes you, what brings you to selling it on your own? I never use why as starting point because it seems accusatory. So what makes you want to sell it on your own here? And they're going to tell you, well, I want to put the most amount of money in my pocket. Awesome. Okay. So is it price or is it commission? Definitely price, right? If you can maximize the price, that's going to maximize what goes in your pocket. And to Heidi's point, one of the things that I always like to say too at some point is like, okay, great. I applaud you for trying to sell it on your own. That's excellent. I'm sure you get the best offer, no problem. What's your backup plan if that doesn't happen? There's that uncomfortable silence, right? Just let it hang there. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't break the silence. Just let it hang. It's a great tool. It really is. So.
You could also, if you have sold any for sale by owners, you can get a testimonial from them and share that with this for sale by owner.
Sure.
Because you will be a hero in a for sale by owner's eyes when you sell their property.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. That's actually really good too. Yeah, testimonial from another FISBO. Outstanding. Well, if we get a couple of minutes, anybody have anything else?
I had a FISBO this week. I had seen a sign. I called them up during my, prospecting time. They didn't answer, but I left a message just saying, I'm Tracy Sorensen, with my brokerage, and that I noticed their home was for sale. And I just want to see if there was a time I can come look at it. So that I know what type of buyers to bring. And I wasn't sure if they'd call, if they wouldn't call. They called me back. I happened to miss the phone call. I might have been on a C course or something, but they left a message and wanted me to come by. I had given them some dates that I was available to come by as well. And so it went really well. I brought kind of a little sneak peek of my listing presentation that just kind of gave information, kind of look, it's prepared for you, not like 4 pages. One page had my contact information. One kind of said all the like the things that an agent does. It just kind of was a little checklist. So I just had that to leave with them. They walked me through the home. I got kind of like, you know, they're trying to retire, you know, the one's going out of town. And so my plan was to write a handwritten note, say it was a pleasure, send them a business card. And then with the things that we've talked about, you know, I wanted to just kind of say, well, let me get this on the market for you, you know, while you're out of town the next couple months, let's get this going so that you can get on with your retirement, because that's their main goal of what to do instead of it just sitting there, because it's been on the market, kind of like what you're saying. It's like been 6, 7, 8 weeks later, and 2 people were maybe going to buy it. They're still thinking about it. And I let them know when I went there, I was like, well, if they were really serious about purchasing it, then they would have already purchased it. And I said, you know, and they're on Craigslist. And I said, well, when you list with me, you're going to have a lot more eyes on your property. So that's still in the process, kind of like you were saying, you know, you go, you view the home, you know, you stay in touch with them, and then you find a listing presentation time where you can meet with them.
Yeah, and that's great too. I mean, what I would say is that if you get the opportunity, put together your listing presentation now. You'll find it in Command under designs, under listings. You can put together one. Just keep it to a few pages like you did. And if you feel it's appropriate for you at that point that they might be open to it, then basically hand it to them and say, hey, listen, just for your purposes, this is what we do to get houses sold. You know? And have copies of documents that they should have on their own. Show it to them, but don't leave it with them. It might have your name on it and you don't want liability there, but the other, you know, you want to make them aware of like, look, you know, there's more to it. This isn't, you know, like you put on Craigslist, like you said, there's more to it. It's not like selling a car, right?
Right.
Absolutely. And that's a great thing about for sale by owners as well, too, is that you don't need to worry about the do not call list. They're advertising their number. You can go to Zillow, Trulia, for salebyowner.com, Fizbo.com, Realtor.com, whatever it is. Their numbers are out there. Call them. You don't have to worry about the do not call list on that. Expireds, different story. Fizbos, no, they're out there.
I had an aha with what you said about having 190,000 agents over 151 countries, or what your statistics were, because my husband will jump on some like sports websites that people just kind of rag on real estate agents and what are, you know, they don't really do much or whatever. He's like, they just don't understand. Like, you know, if you're selling it on your own, like he's like, even just your network in your own brokerage, you know, in your own brokerage, you have 200 agents that, you know, once you have a listing, it's going to go out to them, and those 200 people have clients that may be looking for a home, and that's just local. You know, Keller Williams is an international, so it's just, you know, out there, and it's there's more eyes on the properties.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a misnomer out there, right? You know, attorneys get a bad rap, right? You know, real estate agents get a bad rap, but they don't understand what goes into it. So if you know of an attorney, or if you know, you know, being in real estate, everybody understands that there's more to it. We do a lot of work that goes into it, right? And when we go out there and we're immediately discounting our commission, we're basically saying like, yeah, you're right. I'm not as valuable as you think, which is completely false. Okay. But yeah, we've got to go out there and basically have to sit there. And that's why we come up with our value proposition. We're proving our worth. All right. The average real estate transaction takes, I think, 56 hours for a real estate agent to go from beginning to end. 56 hours. And even if that goes up to 150 hours, the commission's still the same, right? That's a lot of time for a transaction, but you're dealing with the largest asset that people own, largest asset in the lives that they own. I think Linda put in there, says we have pre-qualified our buyers. Now, is that something that you're talking about in terms of, you know, a way to handle, like for sale by owners, the line to use? Okay, all right, yeah, and that's a great way to do it. But I would throw it the other way. I would say, all right, so tell me, these people that are coming in to look at your house, how are you pre-qualifying them? Well, what do you mean? Well, you know, anytime that we work with a buyer, we make sure that they have proof that they can afford the house, either proof of funds or a pre-qual or pre-approval letter. How do you know you're not wasting your time with somebody? Kimberly, how do you handle the pre-qualification and asking if they talk to a mortgage lender without being considered intrusive or abrupt? Okay, are you talking about working with a buyer, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, okay, perfect. So basically what I talked to him is like, this is the list of questions that I have. I'm gonna sit down and meet with them and say like, okay, great. Let's walk through the process. All right, now to walk through the process, say like, okay, so how are you looking to pay for the house? Are you paying in cash or do you have to work with a lender? Okay, and then you say cash, it's like, okay, great. Then we just need a statement that shows you have that much money sitting somewhere in an account with your name on it, right? If it's a pre-qualification, say, tell you what, all right, I've got a few lenders that I work with. Let me actually set you up with each one of these. You can actually talk to each one of them, get a feel for them, see which one works best or see which one has the best program for you, and then we can move forward. I like to call it pre-qualification the golden ticket, like Willy Wonka, right? Golden ticket. If we were to go out without that pre-qualification letter, and you saw the house of your dreams, and this was that house you absolutely had to die for, it was fantastic, okay? And it just came on the market, and you wanted to put in an offer. We couldn't do it because we don't have the pre-qualification letter. The seller and the listing agent need to know that we can afford this. So now you got to wait 3-4 days. You got to talk to the lender, you got to do it. And then we go back and we find out the house is already under contract. I don't want to do that to you. Let's make sure we get all our ducks in a row. We get this golden ticket, and we can go out and we look at every house that's within your budget that you want to your heart's content. I don't want to disappoint you. That's not my job, right? But ask them, how are you going to pay for the house? How are you looking to do that? People may think they know their budget. Then reality sets in when they talk to a lender.
I don't think people are insulted by that question anyways.
Yeah.
It's not like, can you afford a house?
Yeah.
Or do you really think you can buy it? You're not being sarcastic. You're just being helpful to guide them that you either need a proof of funds letter if it's cash, or you need a pre-qualification letter. Will you be paying with cash or do you need financing?
Right. That's true. That's a good point. All right. So it's a little bit
Mary?
after 12. Yeah.
You mind if I ask a question? Can you elaborate on your conversation with Tracy? She mentioned she might have a listing agreement. You said, don't leave it there from a liability perspective, and that immediately sends them a flag to me and says, oh, risk. Can you elaborate why? What if you came in with providing them a CMA for their house? Is that not a good idea as well?
There's a couple of different things to that. If it were a listing agreement, I would pre-fill it out, or I'd have it there, refill it out, and I'd leave it with them if they want to review it. Okay. I'd love to get the signature right then and there. If it's a CMA, I know there's debate on that. Even like the team leader used to have here, she and I used to, have differing views. I would leave it. She wouldn't leave it. She'd take it with her because she didn't want the competition to see it. When it comes to the legal documents, like in Connecticut, we have a property condition disclosure report that needs to be filled out. Otherwise, you're giving a credit to the buyer. That's something that I would show them, but I would not leave with them, along with like other things that we have. There's a few other documents, okay? The reason why I wouldn't leave it with them is because typically, depending on the service that you use, DocuSign or .loop or zip forms, your name is on the bottom or the firm's name is on the bottom. Now, if they take those, if you leave them with them, they take them and they fill it out and they use that, okay, there's liability on your part because you left it with them, even though they're legal documents that are associated with you. Okay, you don't want to get drawn into that. What I do is I show them and say, like, look, you need these. Unfortunately, since I don't represent you, I can't leave them with you.
Okay, that's great. That's good clarification. Yeah, got it.
It's a bit of
Thanks.
a tease. Yeah. It's a bit of a tease in a way. Yeah.
And if we enter into, that's agency level services for me to help you with the property disclosure. So if you decide to work with me to sell your home, I'll help you fill those out correctly to limit the liability on you.
There you go. Yep. There you go. You're showing your value, right? You didn't know that and you wanted to save money, but you're already giving a credit to the buyer. Ooh, we got to talk. Heidi, anything you want to add?
I
Okay,
love
good.
how she put that agency level services.
Yeah,
That was beautiful.
perfect. That's perfect. That's great. Heidi, anything else you want to add in closing? Anything else that you want to touch on?
Fail forward. Just keep trying. Have the conversations, know that you're going to stumble, and be happy that you're going to stumble because it means you're getting better. So if you didn't enter into a conversation at all, you would not be getting the business. So you might as well attempt it. And if, it doesn't work the first few times, that's okay. Just keep being grateful that you're getting to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Have fun. Have fun with this.
Yeah, absolutely. You either win or you learn, right? So what Heidi said, that's excellent, excellent. That's a great way to leave it right there. I put my email address in the chat. If anybody ever wants any follow-up, you've got my phone number, you've got Heidi's phone number that's out there. So feel free to reach out, at least to me anyways, too. Heidi, I'm sure, is open to that as well. I don't want to speak for her, but just reach out to me. And if you have questions or follow-up or situations, always happy to help wherever possible.
There we go. Put mine in there too.
Awesome. Great. Cool.
Thank you for all participating.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.